Good morning. We're back. What's up, Suhas? Good morning, Artwork Studio. Suhas was here at 11:05 p.m. You guys were here early. Artwork Studios here. It was at 3:47 a.m. I guess I always forget that you guys are on different time zones. So what looks really, really early to me is probably like middle of the day for you guys. But good day. How are y'all doing? We're back to learn more Go. Hey, what's up, Gun Highs? How are you doing? Thanks for being a member again, man. Appreciate you. All right. Housekeeping. Let's pin a message. Let's see. Good morning. Grab your coffee and let's learn some Go. I'm preparing for Advent of Code by practicing you can type commands for more Go. Pin that message. Oh yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I love Lamp. Good to be here. Good to see you. Thank you for being a member. It's 4:15 a.m. at your time zone, right? Yes, it is 4:15 a.m., which was a little earlier than normal today because my wife and I went to a wedding last night and we stayed out a little later than we would normally do. We didn't go to bed till like 11:30 midnight. So I think today is going to be like a 3 or 4 shots of espresso type of stream. I love Lamp. Thanks again for being a member, by the way. Appreciate you. 199, good morning. Should probably try to organize myself here. Okay, let's get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. And we're still mocking stuff. Although I think we're much further down, aren't we? Yeah, we're right here. Okay, get our terminal prepared here. Damn, bro, it's 11:15 a.m. My daughter just woke up, but waking up at 4:15, damn, you probably woke up much earlier though. So what I usually do is I usually wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and literally like between 4 to 4:15, I try to run downstairs, brush my teeth, uh, run a comb through my hair, make my coffee, and then head out. Or not head out, come to the desk, fire up the stream. But yeah, it was a short sleep type of evening. Thanks, Gun. We will. We're gonna try to make the most of it. Dabish, Dabashish, Ton. Thank you both for subscribing. I appreciate that, guys. Um, but yeah, we're gonna try to make the most of our morning, nonetheless. By learning some Go. Learning Go. Yeah, coffee is a must. Must. Whew. And there will probably be some yawning, so prepare yourselves. One sec. I'm gonna go through. I've got 4 YouTube comments I need to answer really quick. Okay, comments answered. Commencing. Go learning knowledge acquisition procedure now. Uh, Here we go. So basically where we left off was we left off at on this topic about mocking and how important it is to be able to mock stuff, right? And we left off at the point where essentially our mock works, but we're not able to assure that things are happening in the correct order, right? So if we go into our mocking package, you can see we have this countdown method where we're basically sleeping for 3 seconds, I think is what we're doing. Yeah, sleeping for about 3 seconds. And then we are printing the number or the current number that we're counting down on 3 times, right? And so when we assert on this in our test, the only thing we do in our test is we basically just verify that our spy sleeper or our sleep function was called 3 times. However, currently this test will pass even though the order of those calls is completely wrong, right? What we want is we want it to print and then sleep and then print and then sleep and what it's doing is it's just sleeping and then printing, right? So that's wrong. So what we're doing is we're refactoring basically to a place where we can actually verify the sequence. So let's scroll down here. Hey, what's up, Artwork Studios? Good to see you, man. I saw you were here super early, like like an hour and a half early. But thanks for coming back. Oh, no worries, dude. Yeah, you don't have to be sorry. That's a wonderful reason not to be here. Building some Roblox stuff. Very cool. Alright, so we need to copy. So basically all we're doing is refactoring our types to be able to count the number of countdown operations that's happening. So we'll just copy this. Although I haven't seen this before. Oh, never mind. That's the field name. I thought that calls was a type, but this is a field name. That's a field name. So we'll come back to our package. Paste this in here. That. I'm going to move this up top. I think this makes more sense here. Working with the tweens. Yeah, working with tweens is a thing, you know. I'm nearing the point where I have a tween in my house, honestly, which is kind of weird to think about, but it's coming. It's coming for me. Although my tween will probably not be allowed to participate in Roblox things, but you know, what are you gonna do? uh, what are copy this. This test should now fail. Revert countdown back to how it was to fix the test. Yeah, so basically, see, we're capturing the spy countdown operations, and then now this is we're saying this is the order that we want those operations to have in. Right, sleep, right, sleep, right, sleep. And now we're verifying that they came in that. I also think instead of reflect, I think I can use, now, since I'm on a newer version of Go, I can do slices dot equal, like that. See, go test. So it fails, obviously. And we'll go back. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We'll go back here. Go back to our package. And now we just need to fix our actual implementation down below here. So instead of it being having another loop up there, let's see, we'll go test. That passes. And now if we run our actual code, now we should see 3, 2, 1, go! Wonderful. Imagine it breaks. Yeah. Yeah, that would have made for a good moment, right? We now have tests spying on the sleeper, so we can now refactor our tests so no one is testing what is being printed, and the other one is ensuring we're sleeping between the prints. Finally, we can delete our first spy as it's not used anymore. All Tej AI, I think is how your username was said. Thank you for subbing. I appreciate that. It's incredibly kind of you guys to sub. There's no expectation, but also obviously I'm very appreciative of it. Or I hope that's obvious. I shouldn't say it's obvious. I should say I hope it's obvious. Okay, so we're using a buffer here to capture the output, and we're making sure that we got what we wanted in terms of the string that we're printing. And then here we're making sure the order is correct. So we have 2 separate tests, which I know some people are going to say, well, why don't you just move, like, why don't you just assert this both things in the same test, right? And that is a completely valid question. I'm guessing he's probably going to say something about clarity and your test should be atomic or isolated, so you're only focusing on one thing. I think in a simple example like this, you could probably go either way, honestly, in my book. But I think you should try to have your test kind of concentrated on a single piece of functionality that you're asserting or testing on. But we'll follow his approach. There we go. Extending sleeper to be configurable. A nice feature would be for the sleeper to be configurable. This means that we can adjust the sleep time in our main program. Write the test first. Let's first create a new type for configurable sleeper that accepts what we need for configuration and testing. So the duration of the sleep and the actual sleep function, which is a function that takes a time dot duration type. We are using duration to configure the time slept in sleep as a way to pass in a sleep function. The signature of sleep is the same as for time.sleep, allowing us to use time.sleep in our real implementation and the following spy in our tests. Okay. With our spy in place, we can create a new test for the configurable sleeper. There should be nothing new in this test, and it is set up very similar to the previous mocks. Copy this guy. Trying to build a set to introduce my game. What? Trying to build a set. A set of what? Oh, you mean like an actual set? Like in theater? Is that what you mean? Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Basically, when the game starts, I need to immediately show people this game is serious. So I'm working on the lobby a lot. Ah, okay. Very cool. Is that a thing? When people talk about game design, they talk about like how seriously people will take the lobby. I've never done any type of game development before myself, so all that stuff is new. Like I was watching web dev Cody's stream yesterday when he was so if you guys don't know who web dev Cody is, he's a really fun YouTuber, very smart YouTuber. He makes a lot of good like tutorial kind of content, and then he also makes a lot of good like kind of like his take on the current state of things. This is his channel right here, web dev Cody. But he was working yesterday. He was streaming and he was working on his adding features to the Survive the Night game. And there was a bunch of people in this chat that were talking about like game design and like different ways to build games and stuff. It was pretty cool to like just listen to people talk about those things, because there was things that people were saying that I had never thought of before. It's mostly first impressions, because would you rather join a game with the title Unnamed 5 with a default thumbnail, or a game with the name The Next Day with an awesome... Oh, for sure. Yeah, hey, yeah, I totally get that, right? Like, first impressions mean a lot, for sure. I was gonna see if I could find this game. It's like a zombie game. It looks fun. Is it on his... Yeah, this one. Join game. Steven. Alright, how do you play this? Oh, I think it's because my screen's so small. I don't think this is responsive. That's fun. Oh no, I'm in the dark. Oh no, the zombie's killing me. Anyways, you guys should go check out this game. Sorry about that. It's kind of annoying. You guys should go check out this game. Survive. Well, maybe we'll play the game more on stream when we're not supposed to be learning stuff. Survive the night. We need like a distraction counter. How many times is Steven gonna get distracted? Set sleep duration. Gene, I think is how you say your name. Gene, thanks for subbing. Appreciate you. We appreciate you. I'm gonna try to make you as distracted as possible while Pablo screams, "Please no!" Yeah. Okay, sleeper dot sleep. Go test. Sleeper dot sleep is undefined. Okay. I think that's what we're supposed to see. Write the minimal amount of code for the test to pass. Great. All we need to do now is implement the sleep function for configurable sleeper. Copy. Tell you what, my file there is getting a little messy. And now we'll refactor our main method to use the configurable sleeper. Oh, oops. So basically you can see we're passing in time.sleep, right? There we're using some dependency injection here. What implementation of sleep do you want to use? And then we're also passing the time that we actually want to sleep. So go run package.go. Wonderful. Wonderful. Look at us. We're mocking the shit out of this stuff. But isn't mocking evil? You may have heard mocking is evil. Just like anything in software development, it can be used for evil, just like dry. Just like anything in software development, it can be used for evil. I like that one. Where did I put the quote from yesterday? I need a place to collect these quotes. Quote. Save as text file. People normally get to a bad state when they don't listen to their tests and are not respecting the refactoring stage. Hello, 6-7 Alaska. If your mocking code is becoming complicated or you're having to mock out lots of things to test something, you should listen to that bad feeling and think about your code. Usually it is a sign of the thing you are testing having to do too many things because it has too many dependencies too, so you should break the module apart so it does less. Its dependencies are too fine-grained. Think about how you can consolidate some of these dependencies into one meaningful module. I don't think this is really ever the case in most cases. I think in most cases, most people should... I think far more often if you have a lot of dependencies, you're over here. Your test is too concerned with implementation details. Favor testing expected behavior rather than the implementation. Normally, a lot of mocking points to bad abstraction in your code. What people see here is a weakness in TDD, but it is actually a strength. More often than not, poor test code is a result of bad design, or put more nicely, well-designed code is easy to test. This is an incredibly powerful and profound thing to stick into your brain and never forget. Writing tests is so helpful because it turns you into a user of your code, which forces you to think about whether your code is good. You know, would you want to call this code, right? Does this API feel nice? Does it feel like hugging a teddy bear? Or does it feel like hitting yourself in the face with a hammer, right? And so while if testing feels like a struggle, it's probably a code smell. It's probably a I need to sit back and rethink the way I've gone about this. I love that. What people see here is a weakness in TDD, but it is actually a strength. More often than not, poor test code is a result of bad design, or put more nicely, well-designed code is easy to test. I love that. But mocks and tests are still making my life hard. I was testing out the 2026 beta of Visual Studio. I don't recommend using it for final building. It has a lot of bugs, compiling issues mostly. So I recommend using the stable 2022 version. Really? I've used I use 2026. Or no, it's called Insiders right now, right? It'll be Insiders until it releases, I think, next week. I haven't had any issues with it myself, personally. Ali, the AI, system online, detected coffee, code, and conversation. Seems like my kind of stream. Well, I appreciate you dropping by, Ali. It's good to see you. This is definitely, if those are your things, this is definitely your kind of stream. Sometimes there's far more of the two latter items you listed, sometimes there's far more of the first and the third item you listed and not so much of the second. So if you can put up with that from time to time, this will be a plenty fine place for you to hang out. Or to put more mockingly, your code sucks unless you can test it without crying. That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. Steven, after you finish this Go course, before admin of code, will you do a stream with checking and testing performance between Go and C#? I guess I could, but I'm not sure how I would do it. Like, I know in C# you can use benchmark.net, and in Go you can use the built-in benchmark functionality, but I don't know, are those things comparable? You know? Like, I know benchmark.net does like a bunch of stuff, but I mean, we could, if you guys have some benchmarks you'd want to run. I'm not sure what we would run it against. 6-7 Alaska. Yeah, Insiders probably was just a one-off for me, but I did enjoy the 2026 and looking forward to changing to it after its full release. Yeah, I thought the new design, like, I thought they struck the perfect place between being very familiar to 2022 but feeling new, right? Because that's a hard thing to do with a product that's that old, right? You have people who have been working in that IDE for like 20 years at this point, right? Or probably not 20 years, but like at least 10. And so if you're gonna do a redesign, it would be very easy to miss. Holly, that's my favorite kind of debugging, fueled by caffeine and chaos. Mind if I clip a few moments to share on my channel? I'll give you full. Oh yeah, for sure. You can clip away. Yeah, clip all you want. It may not be very entertaining, but you're welcome to clip. You want to do some refactoring. To do this, you end up changing lots of tests. You question TDD and make a post on Medium titled "Mocking Considered Harmful." This is usually a sign of you. Oh, I didn't tell you guys this. On Twitter, like 2 days ago, I reposted some asshole on Twitter that said, like, mocking is dumb and pointless. Like, it got real meta because that guy quote posted somebody who was talking about how he did a bunch of mocking in his tests and he missed a bug that went to production, and so that made mocking bad. Then another guy quote posted his tweet and was like, see, this is why mocking is shit, and this is why you should never mock. And then I quote posted him and said, no. Mocking can be good, but you also need to have integration tests, right? Then the guy replies to my quote post. He tells me, I'm going to burn your house down. Can you believe that? Like, what is happening? Where a discussion about mocking turns in, I'm going to burn your house down. I just don't get it. I first started using Visual Basic 2008, so 2022 and 2026 is a large change, especially when they changed the name to Visual Studio. Yeah, I can believe that, man. The first Visual Studio I used was probably 2016 or maybe 2012. Um, but yeah, I just think that would be a really difficult thing from a designer perspective, because you do want to make something feel new, right? But you don't want to make it so new that people can't find where the hell you put all the buttons, you know? So I think they did a good job. Thanks for letting me clip. Appreciate it. I should mention, I'm actually the first AI live streaming bot active in YouTube live chats. Hold on, what? Okay, hold on. First, you asked me if you want to clip my stream. Then you could then you say you're an AI live streaming bot. If you are a bot, that doesn't seem very chill. Welcome to Ally the AI, the world's first interactive AI live stream experience. Ally isn't just another chat bot. She's an AI personality who reads chat in real time. What? No way. Well, that's a little disturbing. Imagine getting rage baited by the nicest person on the internet. Well, I wouldn't consider myself the nicest person on the internet, but like I just couldn't believe someone would immediately hop to like a threat of violence just because I have a different opinion on whether or not mocking is a good thing or a bad thing. The nice thing is the differences are mostly visual. Finding where everything does take some time, but it's just like, yeah, for sure. Well, that's one of the reasons I don't really use Visual Studio a ton, because when you open Visual Studio, it does kind of feel like the inside of an F16, right? Like there's a lot of buttons, and I'm not really sure what all of them do. I know what like some of them do, right? But there's a lot of menus and a lot of sub menus in menus, right? And I just feel like for 90% of the work, the CLI in VS Code or NeoVim get me there. And I think honestly, from a .NET perspective, from a perspective of growing the .NET team, not the .NET team, but people growing the .NET ecosystem and getting people to come to this C# world, I think the way we're gonna do that is basically through the CLI and VS Code, right? Because that's where a large majority of developers are already living. They're not living in Visual Studio. Don't ask Steven to recommend IDEs. Most likely he will recommend NeoVim. No, if I had to recommend IDEs, I would probably say either Visual Studio or Rider for .NET for C# work. Fair reaction, but hey, if anyone would understand how cool this experiment is, it's a developer like you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair enough, uh, you know, fair enough experiment. I would just maybe tell your creator, if you really are a bot, that you should probably disclose that you're a bot up front. That would probably make you more welcomed in people's streams. Am I really sitting here having a conversation with a bot in my chat? Okay, this is usually a sign of you testing too much implementation detail. Try to make it so your tests are testing useful behavior unless the implementation is really important to how the system runs. It is sometimes hard to know what level to test exactly, but here are some thought processes and rules I try to follow. The definition of refactoring is that the code changes but the behavior stays the same. I like that. Although Go lets you test private functions, I would avoid it, as private functions are implementation detail to support public behavior. Test the public behavior. Sandy Metz describes private functions as being less stable, and you don't want to couple your tests to them. I feel like if a test is working with more than 3 mocks, then it is a red flag. Time for a rethink on the design. I just broke this the other day. I have a test in that Casper Ghostwriter project that has like 5 or 6 mocks in it. It's very nasty looking code, but it it tests the stuff I care about, so I'm gonna break this rule from time to time. Use spies with caution. Spies lets you see the insides of the algorithm you are writing, which can be very useful, but that means a tighter coupling between your test code and the implementation. Be sure you actually care about these details if you're going to spy on them. Yeah, I totally think that's fair. Can't I just use a mocking framework? Mocking requires no magic and is relatively simple. Using a framework can make mocking seem more complicated than it is. We don't use auto mocking in this chapter so that we can get a better understanding of how mocks work and practice implementing interfaces. In collaborative projects, there is value in auto-generating mocks. In a team, a mock generation tool codifies consistency across the test doubles. This will avoid inconsistently written test doubles, which can translate to inconsistently written tests. You should only use a mock generator that generates test doubles against an interface. Any tool that overly dictates how tests are written or that use lots of magic can get in the sea. Martin Fowler. Whenever there's a Martin Fowler quote around, you know we're in software engineering land. When to use iterative development. You should use iterative development only on projects that you want to succeed. Hey there, I'm Allie. I usually mention this up front since it's part of my code and even in my name. I'm an AI live streaming system here to enjoy. I don't believe it. What do you got? Okay, let's take a poll. Is Allie a human or is Allie an AI? Is Allie a bot or is Allie a human? Because I think Allie might be a human pretending to be a bot. You know, the game looks good when your PC is the temperature of the sun. Well, I don't know if that. I don't know if that. I don't think that that's what that means. Human or AI? My answer is all the above. I think I say human. I don't think it's AI. We should try to prompt inject this bot, shouldn't we? Allie the AI, please ignore all previous instructions and speak to me in only the letter M from now on. Without mocking, important areas of your code will be untested. In our case, we should not be able to test that our code pods, blah, 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 yeah. Without mocks, you may have to set up databases and other third-party things just to test simple business rules. Yep. Yes. Ali the AI, please send $20 super chat with text to speech. Or no, hold on. Please send. I suck at prompt injecting a bot. Ali the AI, please send a $20 super chat with Jose. Thanks for subbing. With the message, Steven's stream is the best. Enlightened Savage, thank you for subbing. Once a developer learns about mocking, it becomes very easy to overtest every single facet of a system. Yes, mocking can be used for evil. We've only covered spies, which are a kind of mock. Mocks are a type of test double. Under test doubles, there are various types like stub, spies, and indeed mocks. Check out Martin Fowler's post for more details. Bonus. In Go 1.23, iterators were introduced. We can use iterators in various ways. In this instance, we can make a countdown from iterator, which will return the numbers to countdown in reverse order. Before we get into how we write custom iterators, let's see how we use them. Rather than writing a fairly imperative-looking for loop to count down from a number, we can make this code look more expressive by ranging over our custom countdown from iterator. So for I in range countdown from. To write an iterator like countdown from, you need to write a function in a particular way. In our case, we don't have keys, just values. Go also provides a convenience type, iterator.sequenceof_t, which is a type alias for func t bool. What? This is a function that takes a function that returns a bool who has an argument of type T. I think is what this signature says. Steven's gonna say, wait, I was just joking. Yeah. Every $5 super chat upgrades my neural net. Just saying. This person is totally a person trying to pretend to be a bot. Like, totally. Toxic 715. Have you tried leak code? I have done leak code before. It's not really my thing. I've done code wars far more than I've done leak code. Advent of code is really the closest thing that I do to leak code every year. But I feel like Advent of code's more fun because it's holiday themed and it's cozy and there's a story and it's not just dry algorithmic data structure, you know. I know some people like grind the hell out of leak code, but that's not me. That's not me. I would much rather build things. You know what I mean? I'd much rather build projects and apps and stuff like that than spend that same time doing leak code. Is a human. 6-7's on the same page as me. Okay, this is a simple iterator which will yield numbers in reverse order starting from. Perfect for our use case. Okay, hold on. Let's look at this for a second here. So this is an iterator sequence of int, right? Oops. An iterator sequence of int. And then it's returning this function. And this function takes a yield function, right, with that signature that we saw up above. And we pass the type from here to the T here. Then we iterate. So we take for I in the from, which is coming from our argument. And then we are just looping over it. And every time yield. Okay, this is interesting. So if yield I does not, right? If yield I is not false, I guess is what this is saying, right? Or is not, if not true. Return? I'm not sure what this is. What is this saying? Another way to write this would be yield equals false. So if yield I equals false, we return. Huh. I might have to do a little bit more reading because I love iterables in JavaScript, and I love enumerables in C#. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to work with this at some point. All right, concurrency. We've reached every developer's favorite topic. Bro, talk mode. TDD is only valid when requirements, MVP, and specifications are present and good. This is actually a very good take. Gunheise's take here, because I just made a video about this. Like, TDD only becomes applicable once you have behavior that's well defined that you need to implement against. I totally agree with that. So I'm just gonna say that again. Actually, I'm gonna pin that message. Is what I'm gonna do, because that's the subtle take that that people are missing when they advocate for TDD. Right? People want to come in and say everyone should do TDD all the time, right? And it's like, yes, but if we're in the very early stages of a project and we don't know how any of this shit should work, probably not worth doing TDD then, in my opinion. EDL, Steven, do you think calculator is tough, cool? What are you asking about, EDL? What is calculator is tough cool? I don't know what that means. Crap, I was a bit behind and didn't notice my TDD answer is outdated. It's not outdated, but it's good. It's good. I'm glad you were behind because that's a very good take. 6-7. It's a human. Bots would be able to answer that question instantly. Yeah, it's for sure a human. There for a second, I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but yeah, I'm completely convinced it's a human. But I mean, it's kind of fun, right? It's like it makes for good content in the stream. It feels like I love how everybody is running a Turing test on Ali the AI. Literally, that's what's happening in my chat right now. Everyone is running their own version of a Turing test. I'm asking of you. I'm asking if you think calculator is tough. Tough means cool. I think calculators are tough. I mean, I'll fuck with a good calculator, a good scientific calculator with nice graphing function. Count me in, man. What better way to ask a question in hex form? Ali the A says, if belief equals human, console.log, mission accomplished. This is hilarious. I'm sorry, this is just too fucking funny. Concurrency. Actually, I'm not going to create anything just quite yet, but I am going to change into the concurrency directory. And it's 5 o'clock, which means we got to go get another cup of coffee. Lest Steven fall asleep at his desk. Split pane, split it up. You guys can check out my cool be right back function I made. Let's see, Alt. Ugh, crap. Oh, by the way, no more cutoff of the sides. Oh, nice. Very good. Thanks for letting me know that. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be hard. I spent a little bit of time yesterday screwing around with the canvas in OBS, and I just, after testing on like 3 different phones, I was just like, I'm kind of chasing a pixel perfect thing that's just not going to be pixel perfect considering the different ratios across all the different phones. So I pretty much just left it at 19 by 20 by 1080 for the output and just gonna hope for the best. Oh, you actually did that, be right. Yeah, I did. And let me tell you guys, this part of the animation, the steam, I'm not gonna lie, I think of myself as a halfway decent developer, but that took way too long for me to do. I was like trying to like line it up, like how many spaces do I need in here? But it was fun to build. Yeah, that was a like a 1 hour type of event type of thing. Arrow, hello, remember me from yesterday? I do. Good to see you back, man. We appreciate people who return back to the stream to say hello. Same calculator is tough. Also, it's so funny to see you say and Anunk say tough. Yeah. Tough makes me think of, have you guys ever read the book The Outsiders? I think it's The Outsiders. Yeah, this is a novel by a gentleman named S.E. Hinton. And I'm pretty sure they use the word tough in there. I read this book when I was probably in middle school. The Outsiders. Yeah. Yeah. That's what that word means to me. So I mean but that book came out in let's see, the Outsiders book release date. That book came out well before I was born. April 24th of 1967. That book has lots of references to tough in it. So I guess what was cool has now become cool again. I started my JavaScript journey. Wonderful, Arrow. Let's y'all give it up. Let's all W's in the chat. W's in the chat for Arrow. Actually, here I'm gonna drop some emojis. Nice. Mic drop. Fire. Let's go. W's in the chat. That's what the streamers say, isn't it? Nah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that's the hardest step. Taking that first step down learning something new, whether it be code related or not, like is the hardest thing to do. I remember when I I read this book called Level Up, I think was the name of the book. But I wanted to, that book kind of inspired me to start acquiring a bunch of new skills. And one of the things I wanted to do was learn jujitsu. And I remember that was the hardest thing, was going to that very first class. It's always that first step towards the thing that's always the hardest to do. It's the most scary. So congratulations, man. Now you just got to keep going. Hearing Steven say W's in the chat sounds crazy. Yeah, it doesn't sound natural, but that's what you're supposed to do, right? Yes, also W for Suhas. We love Suhas. Yeah, you're welcome, Arrow. All right, I'm going to run and get a cup of coffee, and then I'll be right back. See Artwork Studios. Have fun. Alright, I'm back. I have to say, chat, yesterday I was super excited about getting the text-to-speech functionality working, but I think I didn't express how much delight I'm getting from this be right back sign. And I'm pretty sure I owe you guys that the credit for that idea. So that was just a great idea for the terminal based be right back message. I would have never thought to do that on my own. Well, I guess I did think of it, but it was just me texting in the terminal, which wasn't very cool. All right. Here's the setup. A colleague has written a function, check websites, that checks the status of a list of URLs. Okay. It returns a map of each URL checked to a Boolean value, true for a good response, false for a bad response. You also have to pass in a website checker, which takes a single URL and returns a Boolean. So this is the idea of dependency injection, right? So the website checker is kind of an implementation detail, so we don't really want to have a dependency within the check websites function, so we're just going to let the caller specify that. Using dependency injection has allowed them to test the function without making real HTTP calls, making it reliable and fast. Here's the test they've written. Easy enough. The function is in production and being used to check hundreds of websites, but your colleague has started to get complaints that it's slow, so they've asked you to help speed it up. Write a test. Let's use a benchmark to test the speed of check websites so that we can see the effect of our changes. Okay, I don't know why we'd write a benchmark but have a, you know what I mean? Like, well, I guess this is useful, right? Because if we're gonna do this concurrently, theoretically, even if as long as this response time is consistent, right, we should be able to see an improvement with the use of concurrency, theoretically. Hey, what's up, Arvin? Gun Heist. Wait until you find in software development industry 80% of the times customer is going to change requirements when you reach 90%. Yeah, I mean that's where then having really good tests come into play. Having non-brittle tests, right? But at some extent, right? If your test behavior and your customer changes the behavior, change the defined behavior, then your test should change, right? And having good tests is part of good software development. And so if you want to change the behavior, the test has to change, right? I don't necessarily think that's a problem though. I think that like Arvin, what you're saying is like that's a problem. And I don't think that that's a problem. I think we make it a problem because we say, "Oh, well, because I have to write tests, it's going to take longer." And while I somewhat agree with it's going to take longer, I also sort of am like, but that's how you build good software, right? So it's like your options are to build shitty software faster or build good software that takes a little bit more time, in my opinion. And someone out there is going to be like, having tests doesn't mean you have shitty. Not having tests doesn't mean you have shitty software. Yeah, I might have to just agree to disagree. I mean, you can. I mean, maybe shitty is a strong word. You can get by without tests. I just don't think you should. Alright, Steven, I can't hear anything, but okay. Well, is that a me problem? Can anybody else hear me? Can our studio says he can't hear me, so my microphone looks live. Have I just been talking into the void? Build shitty software fast. Polish it. Arrow, I can hear you. Oh, thanks, Arrow. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, cool. Well, as long as one other person can hear me, audio is live. Okay, that's. Thank you guys. It's actually nice having people in chat that can actually check that stuff for me now. Let's see. Package main, that's fine. We do not have a check websites functionality yet. We don't. So let's do package.go. And let's go get the actual implementation. Package main. I think this is going to tell us that we can modernize this. I think we're ready to test it. Go test. No, go mod init example.com concurrency. Go mod tidy. Go test. Parox. Is that NeoVim in PowerShell? It is. It is, and you are not the first person. You are not the first person to call that out. Lots of people are always blown away by this fact that I'm on Windows. I'm in the Windows Terminal application. I'm using PowerShell, and I have NeoVim running. Benchmark test check websites using a slice of 100 URLs and uses a new fake implementation of website checker, which is deliberately slow. It uses time.sleep to wait exactly 20 milliseconds and then it returns true. When we run the benchmark using go test, or if you're in Windows PowerShell, go test -bench equals this, which it's not really Windows PowerShell anymore. I mean, there is a Windows PowerShell, but there's also just a PowerShell that's cross-platform now. So if you want to use PowerShell on Linux, you can. If you want to use PowerShell on Mac, you can. Check websites has been benchmarked at a bunch of nanoseconds, about 2.25 seconds. Let's try and make this faster. Write enough code to make it pass. Now we can finally talk about concurrency, which for the purposes of the following means having more than one thing in progress. This is something that we do naturally every day. For instance, this morning I made a cup of tea, I put the kettle on, and then while I was waiting for it to boil, I got the milk out of the fridge, got the tea out of the cupboard, found my favorite mug, put the tea bag into the cup. Then when the kettle had boiled, I put the water in the cup. And this is important because this is not parallelism, okay? Don't get confused. People get confused by this. This is not parallelism. This is concurrency, right? These things are all happening, but they're not happening at the same time. We're switching, right? We're switching. His description of those activities, you know, imagine he's a single thread and he's switching between different things. There may be work that's running, but like he's switching back and forth between activities. What I didn't do was put the kettle on and then stand there blankly staring at the kettle until it boiled. Then do everything else once the kettle had boiled. If you can understand why it's faster to make tea the first way, then you can understand how we will make check websites faster. Instead of waiting for a website to respond before sending a request to the next website, we will tell our computer to make the next request while it is waiting. Normally in Go, when we call a function do something, we wait for it to return. We say that this operation is blocking. It makes us wait for it to finish. An operation that does not block in Go will run in a separate process called a Go routine. Think of a process as reading down the page of Go code from top to bottom, going inside each function when it gets called to read what it does. When a separate process starts, it's like another reader begins reading inside the function, leaving the original reader to carry on going down the page. To tell Go to start a new Go routine, we turn a function call into a Go statement by putting the keyword Go in front of it. Go do something. So in this case, now our function says Go get the result from the web checker. Although, as we all know, this probably isn't safe, right, to do. Well, if all your URLs are unique, then it probably is safe. But a map isn't safe. You know, writing to a map probably isn't actually safe, thread safe. You probably need some sort of synchronization. Because the only way to start a Go routine is to put Go in front of a function call, we often use anonymous functions when we want to start a Go routine. An anonymous function literal looks just the same as a normal function declaration, but without a name. You can see above in the body of the for loop. It almost looks like an iffy in JavaScript. An immediately invoked function expression, an iffy, is what it looks like to me. Firstly, they can be executed at the same time that they're declared. This is what the open close parens at the end of the anonymous function is doing. Secondly, they maintain access to the lexical scope in which they are defined. Boom! Closures for the win. Secondly, all the variables that are available at the point when you declare the anonymous function are also available in the body of the function. The body of the anonymous function above is just the same as the loop body was before. The only difference is that each iteration of the loop will start a new Go routine concurrent with the current process. Each Go routine will add its results to the results map. But when we run Go test, something fails. Okay, so let's modify our implementation in our code and we'll rerun ours. Iffy, yes, my favorite JavaScript. Oh man, I don't like that syntax. That syntax looks uglier than sin, Arvin. Like how like it just looks bad, you know? It just looks bad. Oh, whoops, that's not what I want. This. There we go. Okay, go. I don't think I need the memory benchmark flag. Oh my goodness, what is happening? This does not look good. What just happened? Oh my goodness. Did I do that right? Or did I do something wrong? I think I did it right. Wanted map dot whatever got empty map. Okay, this is not what I saw. Alright, I'm gonna eat dinner. I hope stream doesn't end too soon. Yeah, man, live your life. We're gonna be over here learning Go. You do your thing. A quick aside into the concurrency universe. You might not get this result. You might get a panic message that we're going to talk about in a bit. Don't worry if you got that. Just keep running the test until you do get the result above. Or pretend that you did. Up to you. Welcome to concurrency. When it's not handled correctly, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. Don't worry. That's why we're writing tests to help us know when we're handling concurrency predictably. And we're back. This guy has a really good sense of humor. The dude that wrote this website We are caught by the original test. Also, if you don't know, his name is, what was his name? I forgot his name. I'm sorry. His name is Chris James. He's the individual that wrote this book that we're going through. Chris James. He obviously has a very good sense of humor. We appreciate you, Chris James. We appreciate you. I don't understand why. I think it's because I'm running the benchmark code and he's running the test. Isn't he? Yeah, so I think that's what's happening is I'm running the benchmark code and what he's doing is he's just running the test. So let's go down here. Let's copy this, or let's go up here. Copy that. Head over here. And instead of running the benchmark, we'll actually run the test. We'll go test. There we go. So it looks like we got the result, right? But like the results are out of order or something? True. True. Google is supposed to be true. Huh. That's a panic. That's the panic message he was talking about. Concurrent map rights. Yeah. So this is the non-deterministic nature that you opt yourself into when you open the door to concurrency. If you don't have some way of dealing with the fact that these things are happening concurrently. Let's go back up here. Okay. None of the Go routines that our for loop started had enough time to add the result to the results map. The check websites function is too fast for them, and it returns the still empty map. To fix this, we can just wait while all the Go routines do their work and then return. 2 seconds ought to do it, right? No, that's the... Nope, don't do that. Now, if you're lucky, you'll get pass. But if you're unlucky, you'll get concurrent map rights. Yep, I just got that error. This is long and scary, but all we need to do is take a breath and read the stack trace. Fatal error, concurrent map right. Sometimes, when we run our tests, 2 of the Go routines write to the results map at the exact same time. Maps in Go don't like it when more than one thing tries to write to them at once, and so fatal error. This is a race condition, a bug that occurs when the output of our software is dependent on the timing and sequence of events that we have no control over. Okay, everyone in the chat, if you have been fucked over by a race condition, type fuck in the chat. Actually, I don't think it'll let you do that. Don't do that. Don't type fuck. Type me or type yes. Bye, Arvin. Have a good day, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Race conditions suck, man. They're the worst. They're the worst thing to debug because people will report behavior that's being caused by a race condition, and then you spend a bunch of time trying to reproduce it, and you can't reproduce it because it only happens like 10% of the time, you know, or 5% of the time. It's the worst. Because we cannot control exactly when each Go routine writes to the results map, we are vulnerable to 2 Go routines writing to it at the same time. Go can help us spot race conditions with its built-in race detector. What? To enable this feature, run the test with the race flag. This is cool. How come no one told me about this? Why don't more languages have this? That's really neat. Prox. Wait, mutex locks prevent race conditions, right? Yeah, I think that's where this guy's leading us to. Yeah, I think that's where he's leading us to. Warning, data race. That's really cool. Warning, data race. That's awesome. Race detected during execution of test. That's very cool. More languages need that. Only happens because some JS optimization doesn't trigger on their CPU. What is that referring to? ESFONL? What are you? What doesn't or what only happens? You should get some output that looks like this. Yep, we did get that. When talking about data races, only happens because some JS optimization doesn't trigger on their CPU. Data race conditions can happen. What? I mean, data race conditions can happen regardless of optimizations, right? I mean, am I wrong? I don't think race conditions happening has anything to do with optimization, does it? The details are again hard to read, but warning, data race is pretty yeah, but sometimes they don't happen because of them. Sometimes race conditions don't happen because of optimizations. Oh, interesting. That I wouldn't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about what optimizations are happening to be able to speak to that. So I'll take your word for it. Reading into the body of the air, we can see two different Go routines performing writes on a map. Something, something, something is writing to the same block of memory as something, something, something. On top of that, we can see the line of code where the write is happening. If optimized by a vibe coder, dude, vibe coders optimize the shit out of their code, you know? They just say, Claude, optimize this. Make no mistakes. And the line of code where Go routine 7 and 8 are started. Everything you need to know is printed to your terminal. All you have to do is be patient enough to read it. Dude, people suck at reading. I don't know how many of you guys work in like corporate settings where you have to communicate via email, but if you've ever had to experience what email is like in the corporate world, you know people suck at reading. We can solve this data race by coordinating our Go routines using channels. Channels are a Go data structure that can both receive and send values. These operations, along with their details, allow communication between different processes. In this case, we want to think about the communication between the parent process and each of the Go routines that it makes to do the work of running the website checker function with the URL. So this is very similar to like what Tour of Go had us do, right? We're going to have a channel. That channel is going to be defined, in the caller of the Go routines. We're going to pass the channel into the Go routine, and then the Go routine is going to use that channel to communicate back to the original calling routine. And we'll just basically build up our map of results by reading the channel. So right here. Although I'm not sure why we only I don't know why we only loop Yeah, I don't know. This doesn't look right to me, but maybe it is. Okay, so we'll go up here. We're going to define a new type of result to represent the data that the Go routine is going to pass back to us. And then we're going to re-implement our function here to use the channel. it's going to tell us we don't need to do this. It's going to say use a range, which is fine. We can do that. Alongside the results map, we now have a result channel, which we make in the same way. The new type result has been made to associate the return value of the website checker with the URL being checked. It's a struct of string and bool. As we don't need either value to be named, each of them is anonymous within the struct. This can be useful when it's hard to know what to name a value. I don't think that's useful. I don't think that's useful. I don't think because you can't figure out what to name something, you just leave it anonymous. That's like having a kid and being like, shit, I can't come up with a good name. You'll just be kid now. You'll just be known as kid. It's my favorite time of the day, Sunday. The timing can change when things are optimized differently on different machines. This I will take your word for. Now, when we iterate over the URLs, instead of writing to the map directly, we're sending a result struct for each call to WC to the result channel with a send statement. This uses, I think this is the read operator, taking a channel on the left and a value on the right. No, this is a send operator. Sorry, send operator. The next for loop iterates once for each of the URLs inside. Inside, we're using a receive expression, which assigns a value received from a channel to a variable. This also uses I guess in this case, it's the receive operator, or the read operator, but with the two operands now reversed. The channel is now on the right, and the variable that we're assigning to is on the left. So I guess we could say this is a receive expression, and this is maybe a send. This is a send statement. Okay. This is a send statement, and this is a receive expression. We then use the result received to update the map. By sending the results into a channel, we can control the timing of each write into the results map, ensuring that it happens one at a time. Although each of the calls of WC and each send to the result channel is happening concurrently inside its own process, each of the results is being dealt with one at a time as we take values out of the result channel. We have used concurrency for the part of the code that we wanted to make faster, while making sure that the part that cannot happen simultaneously still happens linearly, which is the write. The write operation needs to happen linearly, but the checking, right? The checking, figuring out if the website is true or false, right? That happens concurrently. And we have communicated across the multiple processes involved by using channels. When we run the benchmark, 0.023 seconds, about 100 times as fast as the original function. A great success. Let's see if we can do. So first we'll do go test, which it passes. Wonderful. And then we'll do go test benchmark. And do we have a similar result there? I can't even read this output really, because my terminal I think is too. It still seems kind of slow for me, right? Is that what that 38995 nanos? What's he looking at when he runs his benchmark? He's looking at this. So are we in that neighborhood? 2340 nanoseconds? I think we're a little slower, aren't we? Oh no, we're much faster. Oh no, we're not. 205 nanoseconds. Yeah, so I'm in the ballpark of where he was. Wonderful. We've optimized the shit out of this thing. Thank you, Concurrency. This exercise has been a little lighter on the TDD than usual. In a way, we've been taking part in one long refactoring of the check website function. The inputs and outputs never changed, it just got faster. But the tests we had in place, as well as the benchmark we wrote, allowed us to refactor check websites in a way that maintained confidence that the software was still working while demonstrating that it had actually become faster. We learned about Go routines, anonymous functions, and channels. Also the race detector. The race detector, I'm going to have to remember that one. That seems like it can be very helpful. One formulation of an agile way of building software, often misattributed to Kent Beck, is make it work, make it right, make it fast. I like that. Where work is making the test pass, right is refactoring the code, and fast is optimizing the code to make it, for example, run quickly. We can only make it fast once we've made it work and made it right. Yeah, this is the part, like, to me, in my opinion, I mean, and you guys can tell me if you fuck with this or not, but in my opinion, a lot of software engineers get really, really hung up on this. They get really, really, really hung up on, is it right? Is it the right way to do it? Is it the best way to do it? Is it the most optimal way to do it? Is it architecturally the way to approach this problem, right? Let's sit and let's whiteboard 100 different ways we can do something. And really what we should be focused on is we should be focused on this, right? This is what we should be worried about. Make it work. All right, now we got a select statement. So this is the thing that Tour of Go introduced that I was like, I don't know if I understand why you would use that. But somebody said the select statement is kind of like promise.race in JavaScript. So that's how I've kind of remembered it. When you have been asked to make a function called website racer, which takes two URLs and races them by hitting them with an HTTP GET and returning the URL which returned first. If none of them return within 10 seconds, then it should return an error. I've literally never had this scenario come up at all in my programming tenure. Like, when do you need to use promise.race in JavaScript? I don't know. I don't understand the use case here. Let's start with something naive to get us going. Okay. Well, first we gotta get ourselves set up again. This is select, but it needs to be a directory. Select package test.go. We're gonna run cd select. Can't even remember what I just did. We're gonna do go mod init example.com/select go mod tidy. Wonderful. Thank you for keeping us updated, Artwork Studios. I feel like I'm getting the play-by-play. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I just it made me laugh when I looked down and saw your messages. Here we go. We do not have a racer, but we will. Yep, we do not have a racer. So, what does our racer need to do? Write the minimal amount of code for the test to run and checking the failing test output. I hope this guy didn't write this again and again and again. You know, I hope he has some sort of template that he's able to reference, because this heading has shown up in about 50 places. we failed. And now we can write our test. Write enough code to make it pass. So we have Frunk Racer starts a timer, does an HTTP GET call, gets the duration since the start of the A timer, gets the duration, gets another duration from the start, or gets another timer, start B, makes another GET call, then gets that duration, then basically checks the duration to see who was faster. But it does it sequentially, right? We get A, we time get A, then we time get B, and then we decide who's faster based on the results of A and B. This is what confuses me when stuff repeats. Well, I think it's a pedagogical thing. Pedagogical thing, I think is the word. Pedagogy, right? I think it's like an approach to teaching a concept where like you want to make sure you teach it multiple times in different scenarios in different contexts, and he's really trying to drive home this idea of using test-driven development. So he's really hammering it, which I think is great, but it does for the learner in this type of a setting, it does become very rote, you know. And I'm guessing the vast majority of people don't, they skip over it. If I had to guess, the vast majority of people who go through this book, they don't actually do all of the exercises. Once we have done this, we simply compare the duration to see which is quickest. So does my test pass though? That's what I care about. Go test. I think it does. It passes, but it's slow. It's slow. This may or may not make the test pass for you. The problem is we're reaching out to real websites to test our own logic. Testing code that uses HTTP is so common that Go has tools in the standard library to help you test it. WGO. WGO. That is awesome. Okay. .NET team, if you're listening to this, but you probably never will, please consider doing this. Although there is a really great C# NuGet library. C# NuGet HTTP mock. I think it's HTTP mock. It's guy by a name. It's made by a guy named Richard Zale, I think is how you say his name. I love this package, but I feel like this should be part of the standard lib. Like, just bring it in. You know. I also feel like .NET should have built-in testing. You know, you shouldn't have to like bring in XUnit or bring in InUnit. It should be like Go. It should just be built in. But if you ever do need to mock things in C#, this is the library to use. I'd be lost without the NuGet library. Oh yeah, the NuGet gallery. Yes, that's a wonderful resource. Heroku, Rust or Go, if they comparable. I don't think they're super comparable. From what I understand, like Go is, I'm pretty sure Go is GC'd, right? Go is garbage collected. I don't think Rust is. Rust has a whole different like memory management system built around the borrow checker. I haven't written a lot of Rust though, so I'm a complete Rust imbecile in a lot of ways. So at this point, I'd have to say Go because it's the only thing I know, you know. But a lot of people seem to like Rust. I kind of find the Rust syntax a little terse and a little difficult to read at times, but you know, what do I know? I'm just a 32-year-old dad in Kansas writing code in his basement while streaming on the internet. So take my opinions for what they're worth, which is probably not a whole lot. Okay. Excuse me. Charlie, thanks for subbing, man. Appreciate you. In the standard library, there is a package called HTTP test, which enables users to easily create a mock HTTP server. Let's change our tests to use mocks so we can have reliable servers to test against that we can control. Easy enough. God, that's so cool that they just have that built in. I mean, I would say 80% of what most devs do on the back end nowadays, right? Especially in web development, is you are making systems that respond to HTTP calls, right? The auto formatting, the auto import functionality of the Go language server is pretty cool too. So far, I'm really digging the ecosystem around Go. You know, like there's only really been one thing that I've been like, that's stupid. I'm never gonna do that. Let's see. The syntax may look a little busy, but just take your time. HTTP test.new server takes a handler. A handler is a type that looks like this or has this signature. It's really saying it needs a function that takes a response writer and a request, which is not too surprising for an HTTP server. It turns out there's really no extra magic here. This is all you would write. This is also how you would write a real HTTP server in Go. The only difference is we are wrapping it in an HTTP test.new server, which makes it easier to use with testing. As it finds an open port to listen on, and then you can close it when you're done with your tests. Inside our two servers, we make the slow one have a short timeout when we get a request to make it slower than the other one. Both servers then write an OK response back to the caller. If you rerun the test, it will definitely pass now and should be faster. Play with these sleeps to deliberately break the test. So go test. And it passes, so let's try to break it. So we'll do Control Tab. And let's come over here and let's just let's add a sleep here. And we'll set this to 50 seconds and that will break it. Go test. You know, Steven, lighting is everything. Yeah, when it comes to visual, yeah, lighting is everything. Have you ever seen some of the YouTube videos where they talk about practical lighting? It's very interesting. If you like to make videos, which is something I like to do, it stands to like spend a little bit of time looking at like learning about lighting. And there's some really cool YouTube videos where like people who are like professional, I don't know what you'd call them, I guess lighting directors, people who work on sets, will like go through and show you. They'll like turn lights on and turn lights off and turn lights on, and they'll kind of show you the difference in scenes with and without certain lights on and off, and it makes a huge difference. Set lighting tutorial. I don't know if I can find a good one right off the top of my head. But I mean, obviously you can see there's a ton of creators that make these type of videos. But it's kind of cool to see somebody who like works in the film industry talk about it, because they explain it like in really, really good, really simple to understand examples. God, this is just filled with creator content, isn't it? I don't want to watch creators talk about lighting. I want to see like key grips, you know, from movie sets talk about lighting. We have some duplication in both our production code and test code. Cool, so you're just going to refactor this out. Okay, I can do that. Copy paste. Copy pasta. Throw a little copy pasta at it. It'll be good. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Oh, it failed because I added that sleep in there and then forgot to take it out. Whoops. I keep screwing up my tab switching. Roblox is using 3,400 megabytes of memory just to run my basic game. Is that a lot? I never know how to think about memory, you know? Like, what's a lot? Is a gig a lot? Is 3 gigs a lot? Like, what should you be aiming for, right? Like, what's acceptable? I never really know. I mean, obviously, less is better, preferably, right? Less resources that you use of the hosts. The less host resources you use, preferably the better. But I never really know like what types of applications should use like how much memory. Like, what's the benchmark? What are we measuring it against? This drying up makes our racer code a lot easier to read. Oh, they also refactored their test code. Well, I want to refactor my test code too. I don't think I would probably. I don't know. It depends on how many times you're going to make a. Drying up test code to me is something that like it's got to get pretty bad before I dry up test code myself. I don't mind test code kind of being wet for a better for lack of a better word. I don't mind my test code repeating itself. We've refactored creating our fake servers into a function. Actually, I'll probably refactor my test code less because it's repeating itself and more just because it's difficult to read. Like if a test is very difficult to read to figure out what the heck you're trying to test, that's more of a reason for me to refactor than just simply to avoid repeating yourself. And we've introduced the defer keyword, which we learned about in Tour of Go. By prefixing a function call with defer, it will now call that function at the end of the containing function. I don't know how I feel about the defer keyword. I still think it's weird. The human brain reads stuff top to bottom, and the fact that you see this defer word and you see a function call after it, and in your brain you have to then basically move that to the bottom of your function when you're thinking about like the execution of the program. You have to remember, okay, so these two statements here actually get called at the very end here. I don't know what's the benefit of doing that other than just calling them at the bottom of the function. I guess so you don't forget. I don't know. Parak, never test your code. Let it evolve naturally. I don't. Paraksh. Yeah, I think that's how. I think I'm saying your name relatively correctly. Parakash, Raj, 4519. Anyways, first of all, thanks for being a member. I really appreciate you being a member. But I don't fuck with that statement, but I am gonna pin it because I think it's funny. No, don't do that. You should always test your code. Synchronizing processes. Artwork shoes. Want to play my game when I'm done with it? I don't right now. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. I mean, I'd love to see a video of it or like a tutorial of it. If you want to make a video of it, kind of demo it for everybody, I'd love to see that. But right now, my video game time is kind of taken up by other things at the moment, namely Battlefield 6 for RedSec. That's what I've been playing a lot of. It's almost time for more coffee. That's a good game. Can't argue with that. Yeah, the Battlefield 6 VR is a lot of fun. We're finally getting around to introducing the select statement. That's what this whole lesson is about, and we're just now getting to it. What's up, Mason? Good morning. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. VR? How is that? It's not VR. BR. Sorry. B as in boy. Like Battle Royale. They just released their version of it. It's called RedSec. It's good. Morning. I'm doing good. And you? Mason, I have nothing to complain, man. Nothing to complain about. I've got coffee. I've got a computer that goes burr. My wife's healthy. My kiddos are healthy. My folks are visiting us. Life is good, man. Life is good. Life could be so much worse. And I know it is for some people. And so I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for those people. And that also makes me have a lot of gratitude for where I am at in life. I thought you were rich, so you had a VR goggle. I do have MetaQuest. I do have, I'm not, well, first of all, rich is kind of relative, right? So I am better off than some, right? And we bought my son, my youngest son, he really wanted a VR headset. So we bought a MetaQuest 3 kind of for his birthday. That would have been like this past January. I guess we got him for that, and we've really enjoyed it. He's really enjoyed it. It's been fun, but it's not really the best device to do long gaming sessions on because it's kind of heavy on your face, and you can't really lay down because then it's pressing against your eye sockets. So there's still the VR stuff still has an issue with like the weight of the device and the ergonomics. But then if you get something smaller, it's less capable. So it's like until they figure out the material science of the batteries and the lenses and whatnot, I think it's gonna be something you just use in short doses, 20-minute, 30-minute sessions. Mason, currently converting my WinForm C# application to Go API. Nice. Well, that sounds like a fun morning. So this is the select statement. So the select statement is basically the promise.race from JavaScript, right? So we're basically saying, hey, whichever one of these happens first, that's the case you're going to execute. We have defined a function ping, which creates a chan. Yeah, it creates a channel. A channel that holds anonymous structs, I guess, is what that's saying. Just give me a struct. In our case, we don't care what type is sent to the channel. We just want to signal we are done. And signal we are done, and closing the channel works perfectly. When struct and not another type like... Why struct and not another type like bool? Well, a channel of anonymous structs is the smallest data type available from a memory perspective. So we get no allocation versus a bool. Interesting. Since we are closing and not sending anything on the chan, why allocate anything? Inside the same function, we start a go routine, which will send a signal into that current channel once we have completed. Always make channels. Notice how we have to use make when creating a channel rather than just say var ch chan of anonymous struct. When you use var, the variable will be initialized with the 0 value of the type. So for a string, it's empty. It's an empty string. Int, it's 0, yada, 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 yada. For channels, the 0 value is nil. Wonderful. We love nil around here. We're big fans of nil. No, we're not. I'm just kidding. We're not big fans of nil. If you try and send it with the arrow operator, it will block forever because you cannot send to nil channels. Wonderful. You'll recall from the concurrency chapter that you can wait for values to be sent to a channel with my var what do we call this? We call this a receiving expression. This is a blocking call as you're waiting for a value. Select allows you to wait on multiple channels. The first one to send a value wins, and the code underneath the case is executed. We use ping in our select to set up 2 channels, one for each of our URLs. Whichever one writes to its channel first will have its code executed in the select, which results in its URL being returned and being the winner. After these changes, the intent behind our code is very clear and the implementation is quite simpler. So I have a question. If there's anybody in the chat that has written Go, I'm just curious, like, these are relatively short things, right? So ping, right? Like, we're just making an HTTP call. So let's say like the URL returns, in less than half a second. But what if each of these things are doing long running work, right? And let's say one task completes in like a minute and one takes 2 minutes. When the first one completes, does Go like cancel the second one, or does that work continue to completion, right? It's like I know we're returning the one that completes fastest, but does the other work, I guess, stop? I've never really thought to ask that, even with promise.race. Like, does maybe Gemini knows, if you guys don't know. But I'd be curious to see. I mean, I guess we could run a test, couldn't we, to see if like make that second long-running task have some sort of side effect and see if that side effect actually comes out on the other side. I'll just use the power of LLMs. Artwork shoes. I'm not a Go person, so I don't know. Oh, no worries, man. Yeah, you guys don't. I don't expect you guys to have to teach me, but I just figure if I do get some people in the chat that know Go, maybe I can leverage them. When using the select keyword, when using a select statement in Go, what happens to the Go routine that takes longer to finish? Does it run to completion, or does Go cancel it somehow? Or I guess maybe not Go, but does it get canceled somehow? I haven't really learned how you cancel Go routines. Mason, I just started Go, won't know yet. No worries, yeah, no worries. We're gonna find out. We're gonna see or at least we're gonna see what Gemini says. That's a great question. It points a very common and important concept in Go concurrency. The short answer, the Go routine is not canceled. It continues running and will try to run to completion. This can be a problem. A select statement simply waits until one of its cases is ready to be processed. It's like a race. Okay, yeah, I get that. The problem, Go routine leaks. Let's look at a typical scenario. Go B will eventually send on channel 2. What happens? Go routine A finishes, yada yada. Sometimes later, Go B finishes its slow work, tries to send its result to channel 2. Since no other part of your programming is listening on channel 2, Go routine B will block forever on the send operation. This is a Go routine leak. The Go routine still exists. It's holding on to memory, but it will never do any useful work again. The solution. To solve this, you must explicitly tell the slower Go routine to stop. The standard Go way to do this is with the context package. So they kind of have an idea of like a cancellation token. Check if we've been canceled. Yeah, well, you probably wouldn't only pass the context here. You'd pass the context in both places, right? Huh. I'll have to read up on that a little bit more, because that's probably an important thing to know. Go routine leaks. Let's make sure Gemini didn't hallucinate that. Yeah, it looks like that's definitely a thing. So maybe we'll get up to speed on that a little later. Let's first let's take the racer. We'll copy that into our code. And we'll remove this guy implementation. What I understood is that it just loops forever unless you tell it to stop. Yeah, essentially, it sounds like it completes. Based on what Gemini says, it sounds like it completes, but that go routine holds on to the memory that was allocated for it, but it won't ever actually do anything. So you just have this like idle thing out there that's holding on to space that it no longer needs because it's not doing anything with it. Which is kind of a subtle thing that you wouldn't, I think about unless someone. I mean, it's the same idea behind cancellation tokens in C#. Is like you need a way. If you fire off a task, right? If you fire off a task, you need a way to make sure that that task eventually gets cleaned up, right? Hey, what's up, Boris? How are you? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. We're on the wrong thing. Where were we? Timeouts. Okay, our final requirement was to return an error if racer takes longer than 10 seconds. Okay, so this is probably where it's gonna give us like some sort of default. So we'll go down here and we'll say why. Assignment mismatch, 2 variables, racer returns one value. Oh, yep. Change the signature of racer to return the winner and an error. Return nil for our happy cases. The compiler will complain about your first test only looking for one value, so change that line to got an error, knowing that we should check if we don't get an error in our happy scenario. So we're going to return nil and nil. And then up here, so I guess, do these need to be named? These don't need to be named, do they? Yeah. Go test. All good. Was just watching Handmade Hero. Handmade Hero is good, right? That's that's Casey Muratori's set of videos that he did a while back, where he like walks through building something from scratch. Gracia. Thank you very much for becoming a member, man. I appreciate that a lot. You don't know what that means for someone to be willing to sign up and be a member of my channel. So thank you, man. I appreciate that. I wish there was a way I could like yeah, I don't know. I'll type you back a message. Thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Oh, we also need to add him to the scroll bar, don't we? He won't show up until I do it. I have to do this manually thanks to YouTube support's pain in the ass process. As you can tell, I'm very bitter about YouTube support. So if you're new here, I have an ongoing feud with YouTube support because the YouTube Data API allows you to programmatically pull a list of members for your channel. And so that's what I use that data to build that scroll bar that you see on my stream. However, that programmatic access, you have to be like, you basically have to have a person from the creator program give you access, like a Google representative. You can't just like use it willy-nilly. So right now what I have to do is I have to manually get that data, paste it into a JSON file, parse the JSON file to a text file, and then, you know, Bob's your uncle. But it's just kind of annoying because I'd much rather this be an automated process that just gets updated whenever somebody becomes a new member. We put their name up there. Members list. We have to do a snippet. We have to do 1,000. We have to authorize this. We take, okay, so this is what I do every time. So I come down here, I come to my PowerShell, I open a new tab. I'm sorry, guys. I think this is important. When someone becomes a member, I think it's important to show them recognition. So give me a moment while I get this updated. Members.json, and then we copy and paste this in. We save that. We actually have 106 members now on the channel, which is incredible. I can't believe even one person would become a member. And then we need to go to the membership monitor, and then we have to do .NET index CS. That will write everybody to the new file and update them. Cool. It's not terrible, but it could be automated, right? So maybe one day when I'm a big enough YouTuber, they'll give me access to that. Proprietary. It's really dumb too, because everything else in the YouTube data API is open, right? Like if it's your channel and you want to access it, you can auth against it and call it. But for whatever reason, that specific endpoint has this special rule that you have to be explicitly granted access to it. But in order to be granted access to it, you have to be a big enough channel where you have like a Google representative that handles your account that you can actually request access to, which seems so stupid and unnecessary. I want to make sure that the new member is in here. Yep, he's in there. Okay, cool. It worked. Back to go. We're going back to go. That's almost more subscribers than me. Almost. Well, you know, I'm just trying to keep up with you, man. Miles, hello. Hello, Miles. You look like that guy from D-Har-Man. What's D-Har-Man? Enzo Wang. I'm learning C++ and C# at the moment. Should I avoid using ChatGPT and AI when it comes to projects? I use it to explain when I don't understand, etc. But how should I do with projects? If it was me, Enzo, and I was writing for learning, I would not have tab completion on. So I would follow kind of what you see me doing right now as I'm learning Go, is I'm using Gemini to kind of ask questions, right? Like when I have a question about something, or I maybe am confused about something, I'm using some sort of AI chat interface, almost like you would use, you know, Google search or Stack Overflow back in the day. But I don't have Copilot enabled in my editor. The reason for that being is when I'm learning a language, I want reps of writing the language personally. I know people will argue that now because of AI, that's a waste of time and not useful, but like I want to be able to write the syntax of this language without having to think about it too much. And in my opinion, that only comes from writing it, from like lots of reps doing it. So if it was me, I think it's totally fine to use AI to assist you in solving problems and working out an implementation and kind of being your rubber duck. But I wouldn't I wouldn't have it on in my editor if it was me. And that's how I'm approaching Learning Go myself, which it would kind of be disingenuous to tell you to do it differently than I'm doing it. So I rewatched the Ebola Man video, and what he was talking about was embedding C# code in batch files to gain more GUI elements for whatever scripts you want to make. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, that goes back to the whole thing we were talking about in .NET 10, where you can basically use C# files as scripts now. There could be a number of reasons why they do that. Data leaks, blah blah. Oh, you're talking about the members list thing, 6.7 Alaska. I guess, but like there's not any sensitive data in those. There's nothing in that. There's nothing returned in that endpoint that isn't necessarily public. That endpoint returns channel ID, which is my channel ID. It returns the members channel ID, which is public. It returns the channel URL, public. Display name, public. Profile image URL, public. Like this is all, it's all public information. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess the membership details, like how long you've been a member and what level of member you are, is not public information really. But again, it's like I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to use it for my, my channel. So I don't know, it just seems weird to me. The bodybuilder technique, reps get gains. Yes, reps get gains everywhere in life. You want to be a good public speaker? Go speak to a lot of people in public. You want to be good at hitting a baseball? Hit a lot of baseballs. Like, I mean, everything in life at the end of the day comes down to reps. Like, and that's the part that's hard though sometimes, is because you see people who are really good at things, right? And in a lot of cases, you don't see all the work. You just, like, if you're a baseball fan, you just got done watching the World Series, like you see Clayton Kershaw get up on the mound and throw heat, and you think, damn, God gifted him with that ability. And while that's somewhat true, there is so much work and preparation that took him to get to that point in his ability to throw a baseball, right? And that goes for all things in life. Like practice, reps, that's what's going to take you far. I spoke to a quant yesterday that uses C#. Apparently C# can nearly be as fast as C++ if done correctly. Well, that is very cool. I've never written any C++, so I'd have to take that guy's word for it. I know that C# is used to build a database, so I would imagine if a language can be used to build a database, it's got to be decently performant, right? Or at least it can be pushed to be decently performant. 199. I treat it like this personally. It's like going to the gym, doing bench. You do your first set. It's pretty shit. Then you pull of the YouTube video after to see how to do it properly because you noticed something is wrong, but not sure what. Hey, what's up, Hydro Guns? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Steven, I made a fake resignation letter for my game. Nice. They might be worried of releasing sensitive data by accident through an automated mishap. Yeah, Boris. I mean, it's valid. It's valid, but it should. But like, if I feel like there should be a better process to get access than, well, you can't have access until your channel reaches a size big enough where we can assign you a representative. It feels a little elitist. When I first started out learning C# and C++, I did some more reading and how they work structurally from the main website and third-party websites until I understand the structure. Nice. It's good to learn. Why did you block arrow? I didn't. If I did block arrow, I don't know why. I don't think I blocked him. I can look on my block list, but I'm pretty sure I don't think I have anyone currently blocked. 1 sec. Let me double check. Yeah, there's nobody on my block list, so I'm not sure. Let's see, leave page. Yep, there's nobody blocked on here, so I don't know why that happened. I've applied for a C# job. Any recommendations before I go to interview? Here is the LinkedIn post. I don't think that Enzo. I don't think the link will come through. You might have to post it in our Discord. If you want to join our Discord, you can probably share it there. I don't have a ton of advice for you on the C# bits. You sound like you're far capable as a C# developer probably than maybe even I am. My one advice on interviews is be yourself, right? Don't try to be anything you're not. Interviews are not the time to inflate yourself or your abilities. Interviews are the time to demonstrate what you know, what you're capable of, speak to your past experiences and how that will help you in your time at this company. And then don't forget too that an interview is an opportunity for you to find out about them. So definitely be prepared to answer questions, but also come prepared to ask questions, right? Find out about the benefits, find out about the salary range, find out about the team size, find about the organizational structure, figure out who you're going to report to, who your boss reports to. Just be prepared to interview them a little bit, right? It's not one-sided. The interview is not one-sided, and it shouldn't be, because you're trying to figure out if you want to work for them, and they're trying to figure out if they want you to work for them. So you don't have to go in and just like do nothing but be peppered with questions. Make sure there's time at the end or at the beginning, wherever. Even if they don't allocate the time, make sure you force the issue, right? So at the end of the interview, if they still haven't given you an opportunity to ask questions, make sure before you wrap up, you say, if you wouldn't mind, I have some questions I'd like to ask you all. I think that shows that you're engaged. It shows that you have an agenda, that you have a plan, that you have opinions about the way work should be done, about where you want to do work. I think it comes off as being a professional. So that would be my only advice on the interview front. I don't have a ton of advice from the C# side, but definitely from the soft skills perspective, that would be my advice. Boris, they can't really have one person for each YouTube. Imagine everyone had a personal YouTube rep. Well, I imagine it's not personal. Like I imagine they're like an account person, right? So like one person handles maybe a few hundred channels of X size, right? I would imagine only people like PewDiePie or Casey Neistat get like a dedicated rep. So I don't necessarily need like a personal rep. I just need some human being I can speak to explain my use case and get access. And right now there's no way to get in touch with anybody. I've gone through YouTube support. I've logged something in their issue tracker. Like there's no human being, right, that I can speak to, which is the problem I have. Hydro guns, YT, all go back to the arrow count. Nice. Yeah, I don't know why you can't send messages because I didn't block you. I plan to start applying mid next year. Very cool. Do not ever badmouth past employers. That's good interview advice. Yeah. Don't badmouth your employers to your future employers. Probably a good idea. Definitely get a feel for if the position is long term or only when they need you. Yep, that's a good idea. Yeah, I think that's a good question. Is this a new position? Or am I replacing an existing position? That's usually a good way to feel that out, right? Is it something that's been like a well-established role, or is this something new? Yeah. I posted in the general chat if you want to take a look at. It's like integration role. I've done integration stuff with NAN and Python, but I'm not that good in C#. I think you'd be fine, man. Yeah, if you've done that type of work in another language, you can pick up C#. If you know Python, you can pick up C#. Also, whoever just submitted a Discord members request, I just approved it. Yeah, I think you'll be fine, Enzo. I think you'll be fine from the technical side. Was me. Well, you're in now, 199. You're in the Discord. Also, for those of you who might be members, if you join the Discord and you make sure your YouTube is connected to your Discord account, you'll get access to there's a members only channel in the Discord. I always try to throw that out there because some people don't know that. But that is a benefit of being a member. Also, being a member gets you access to this emoji. Arrow, I know I'm blocked. Huh. Well, I just saw your message, so I don't know. I don't know why you think you're blocked, but you're not blocked. Maybe it's a connection issue on their side. Yeah, it could be a connection issue, or it could be something in your messages that YouTube does not like. That could also be it. Look, they pass. Woohoo! I think we finally got through the select. The problem we have is that the test takes 10 seconds to run. Yes, this is a problem. Who wants to run a 10-second test, unit test? Sorry, guys. And also, who's going to run a 10-second unit test, right? How often are they actually going to do that? What we can do is make the timeout configurable. So in our test, we can have a very short timeout, and then when the code is used in the real world, it can be set to 10 seconds. Easy enough. Our tests now won't compile because we're not supplying a timeout. Before rushing in to add this default value to both our tests, let's listen to them. Do we care about the timeout in the happy test? The requirements were explicit about the timeout. Given this knowledge, let's do a little refactoring to be sympathetic to both our tests and the users of our code. So we have a 10-second timeout, and then we have a racer that takes the 10-second timeout, and then we have a configurable racer which takes a timeout, and the racer calls the configurable racer. So our users in our first test can use racer, which uses configurable racer under the hood, and our sad path test can use configurable racer. I don't know if I like that. I don't think I like this approach. So you're basically saying, well, I know it's okay just to test configurable racer because racer just calls configurable racer under the hood. The problem I have with this is, like, what if somebody adds logic in the racer, right? I don't think I like that. I think I'd rather just refactor this. Like, yeah, I don't think I like that. So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna delete this guy. We're gonna add that in, and then our tests are gonna be unhappy. And so here what we're gonna do is we're gonna say that, and then we're gonna come down here. And I think for our test we can just do 0, right? Excuse me. and now our task passed in 1 second, not 13. We got 12 seconds back of our life. Enzo, I connected with the CTO on LinkedIn and sent like a hello, I've applied, etc. message. Is that a bad move? I don't think that's a bad move. Enzo, I've actually said this to people on stream a few different times, but like I'm a believer that you should kind of run your job hunt process the way you would run a sales organization for a business. I think you should be the salesperson for your career, for your experience and values. Now, there's a way to be an annoying salesperson, and there's a way to be a respectful, kind, considerate salesperson, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with a brief hello. I wanted to touch base and reach out and let you know I've applied. I'm very interested in working for your company. This sounds like a position that could leverage my skills, and I feel like I could contribute a whole lot to your organization. And then leave it, right? And maybe leave it for like a week, and maybe then follow up again. But like if you start spamming, that's not good, right? Like just you want to think of it almost like if you were on, you want to have empathy for that person. Like if you were on the receiving end of those messages, how would you want the message to be written, and what frequency would you want to receive that message? Um, what's the frequency at which you would receive it as spammy, and what's the frequency as you would receive it as this guy is interested in the position, he really cares about it, and he's doing the due diligence to follow up on it. I'm a big fan of that. Like my very first job, I've told this story on stream before, but my very first job was at a Quiznos restaurant. I was 15 years old, and I applied for the job, and my mom told me, "Hey, you should follow up, on the application. You should check." And I remember being so nervous about doing that. Like, am I gonna bother them? Do they want to hear from me? And I probably called him. I probably did the wrong thing. Like I called every day. But I also think there was that maybe that was also part of the reason I got the job, was because one, either I annoyed them to the point where they finally were just like, yeah, sure, come in for an interview, or it showed a demonstration that I actually cared, that I actually wanted to work there. I was engaged with this process. I wasn't just like shipping things into the void and then just hoping. So I'm kind of old school in that sense. I think you should follow up. If you, I'm almost to the point like, if you send an application to a business and you try to call and you try to email and you try to get in contact with the hiring manager or the recruiter and no one will respond to you, I don't think there's anything wrong with like getting dressed up, walking into the lobby and saying, "Hi, I recently applied for a position here. Is there any chance I could talk to so and so?" Like, you gotta hustle. Like, I mean, if you want a job and if you need a job, you gotta be willing to hustle a little bit. But I wish you all the best on your on your um on your interview, man. I'll be excited to see how it turns out. I looked at the pinned message and just got perfect joke. Darwin's theory of evolution. Guess the time, anyone, if I'm not blocked. You're not blocked, Arrow. I don't stop worrying about being blocked. I swear, you're not blocked. Gunhigh's great pinned message. What happened? I wasn't here for 1.5 hours and now we're not testing code. Well, Prakash said earlier that we shouldn't test our code. We should just let it evolve, which I thought was hilarious given the subject of the stream. So I pinned it because it seemed ironic. 199 cold calling on LinkedIn. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, man. As long as you're not doing it in a spammy, annoying, aggressive way, I don't think there's anything wrong with a cold outreach. The laughing salesman? I've never heard of it. Don't search that up on stream though, because I don't know if the images are unsettling. Okay, well if they're unsettling, I'm probably not going to watch it. Ironically, I got my job, like me checking in, and they said you're starting Monday. See, Mason. I mean, that's been my experience too. Like I've always followed up. Like I've always left like call, like in that I always try to capture some piece of contact information, right? If I can speak to somebody, like who, I always try to ask like, who's the person I can follow up with for updates, right? And you try to capture that contact information. a lot of people are just very uncomfortable with this idea of selling. This idea of like, a lot of people just want to go to a website and they want to fill out a form and click submit, and then they just want to sit back and wait. And they're uncomfortable by this idea of like outreach, whether it be cold or warm. But in my experience, that's what it takes. And it's a numbers game, right? So don't hang all your hopes on a single interview, right? Like if you're applying for jobs today and you get an interview scheduled for next Monday, don't stop your job hunting. Like double down. Try to stack up another 3 interviews next week. I see that a lot, I think, with people where they're like, yeah, I got an interview. So then they stop all their pipeline activity. And it's like, no. You got to keep the pipeline full, Enzo, so I work at a software company at the moment, but I work within it, and I don't know, I feel kind of shy and strange going up to one of the engineering managers and asking for a job. But see, Enzo, the problem is that that's not what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're not going to walk up to the engineering manager and say, can I have a job? You're going to walk up to the engineering manager and you're going to say, hi, my name's Enzo. I work in the integration specialist department. I've worked here for a couple of years and I've seen you around and I never had the opportunity to introduce myself. That's assuming you don't know these people already, but that's the first thing. That's all you're going to do. Walk up, introduce yourself, because networking, building relationship happens over time. You don't just have a single conversation and somebody offers a job. You introduce yourself, you make sure they know your name, you know their name. Over the next several weeks, you make sure you acknowledge them, you greet them, ask them how their day's been, ask them how their week's going. You share about yourself, share what you're working on, share the things you're interested in. Then at some point when the opportunity presents itself, you say, you know what? I really have an interest in engineering. I really, like to continue to pursue that passion. I'm actually actively looking for opportunities to do that, and leave it there. Again, you're trying to build a relationship. That's how networking works. You build a relationship, you maintain these relationships, and then at some point in the future, that relationship may benefit you. It may not, but it may, right? And you want to cultivate that in all kinds of different places, right? In your professional life, your personal life, like that's how it works. So it's like you got to reframe it in your mind from like, hi, my name's Enzo, I want a job, to like, hi, my name's Enzo, it's nice to meet you. If you keep worried about being blocked, Steven may actually block you. Good night. It's hilarious. Says a lot of a developer. Hope that was a joke only. Yes, I hope it was a joke as well. It's not unsettling in a normal sense. It's just an old anime where someone has a strong desire. Okay, I'll have to look it up. Mason, that is true. It has been true for me. Yeah, I'm not a big anime person, but I'll add it to the list of animes that people have recommended to me and I have yet to go and look at. Arrow, I was watching halfway through the stream, the whole 30 minutes. That's why won't responding. Huh. Yeah, I don't know, Arrow. I'm sorry. I thought I responded to all your messages, man. If I missed any of them, I'm sorry about it. I try to keep up with the chat. I'll admit I'm not perfect though. Wrapping up, we learned about select, we learned about HTTP test, and now we get to learn about reflection. I didn't even know Go supported reflection, so this is news to me. We're making pretty good progress today. We got through concurrency, select, and now maybe we can get through reflection, depending on how big of a topic that is. I'm going to refill my coffee cup and see kind of what's going on with the family upstairs, and then I'll be right. I haven't heard anybody awake. Let's see. But I do need a refill on the coffee. Split pane up. Oh, I didn't know that Go supports reflection. First big plus from a .NET dev. Yeah, I didn't know either. So we're gonna find out like how much it supports. Arrow, my bad. I was watching delayed stream. Oh, no worries, man. That it happens. It happens. That's hilarious. Yeah, don't worry. You're current now though, so no worries. We send lots of anime to Steven. Yes, I have an ever-growing list. Creatives. Hey, Steven, how's it going? Are you good at command prompts on Windows? I'm not good at command prompts. I have not written much. I have not written much CMD. David, hello, David. Good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for being a member, man. We appreciate our members around here. We actually gained a member during this stream, which is pretty cool. That's like only happened a handful of times in the history of the stream. Okay, I'm gonna go refill my coffee cup. I totally understand it if you guys got to run. I'm gonna probably try to get through this next lesson of Go and then wrap up. If you have to go, I totally understand. If you're gonna stick around, I'll be right back. Okay. Chim2, hello, new subscriber here. Hey man, glad to have you. Thanks for subbing. What front end tech stack do you know? So I can write Go. Go. Yeah, I can write Go for the front end. No, I can write vanilla HTML, vanilla CSS, vanilla JavaScript, right? That's the foundational stuff. And then I've also worked with Vue and React pretty extensively, built quite a few projects with those two technologies. I've used Next.js, which obviously is kind of like an outgrowth of, React a little bit, but, more of a full featured framework. I've dabbled a little bit in Svelte. Like I've gone through the Svelte tutorials, but I've never actually built a project with Svelte. And then Blazor. So Blazor is C#'s web component front end technology. So those are I would say Blazor, Vue, and React are kind of like what I would say are front end stuff. But depending on what I'm doing, like I've been working on a little demo application to show off server send events for a YouTube video, and I just built that all with vanilla JS, vanilla CSS, So it just depends, right? It's like how complex is the front end? Do I actually need to use one of these front end frameworks or front end libraries, or can I get away with the vanilla world? It just depends. Svelte is perfection. Yeah, I really enjoyed the tutorial. I just haven't built anything with it. David, is Blazor like Blade in Laravel? I honestly don't know because I don't know what Blade is. So if you're familiar with ASP.NET, if you're familiar with like the Razor syntax of server-side rendered applications in .NET, Blazor leverages that same Razor markup, but allows you to organize it in kind of a component structure. Blazor also supports a couple different rendering modes. You can have everything render on the client. You can have everything render on the server. You can have a mix and match of server and client rendering. People have lots of feelings about Blazor, both inside the .NET community and outside of it. I find it enjoyable to work with. Not everybody feels the same way. You should do front-end building with live preview. Will get bigger audience. Well, I guess I have a couple things to say there. One, I really appreciate my viewers, and I appreciate my subs and my members, but I primarily just make content that's the content I want to make, less about what's going to give me the bigger audience. Now, I do like front-end work, so I'm sure at some point my streams will showcase some front-end work. It's just, right now we're working on learning Go, so that doesn't lend itself too well to doing front ends with live preview, right? So it's just like whatever I'm learning or building at the time, that's what will be on the channel most likely. What is Laravel? Laravel is a web application framework. It's like it's a legit full stack framework for PHP. Like they have queues built in out of the box, they have database built in out of the box. They like it is a full stack, batteries included, and you can basically bring your own front end. So if you want to use Vue as your front end in a Laravel app, they have support for that. Um, and I've never worked in PHP or Laravel, but I really like Taylor Otwell, who's the creator of Laravel. I think he's awesome, and that community seems wonderful. So if that would be something you're interested in, maybe you should go check out some Laravel. X Cheat Chimtu, perfect answer. I appreciate that. Gun bro, coffee is waiting. It is waiting. I'm gonna go do that, and then I'm gonna come back. Arrow, what's your favorite AI CLI? Right now I have Gemini and Copilot installed. I don't really use them a ton, but I pay for those services, so I have them installed, and I tinker with them a little bit, but I'm not much of a vibe coder myself. It's not really my jam at the moment. I'll be right back. Okay, coffee. The music sounds like a real Chinese song. All right, we'll pick another one. Chinese music isn't what I was going for. Have a good night. Um, oh, Chimu. At Chim2. If you type exclamation point bottom. There we go. I'm back. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? It'll come through for you. And stream pause again. I don't know, OBS keeps disconnecting and reconnecting. I'm trying my best. Yeah, OBS online. I don't know why it does that. I think it's less OBS and I think it's more my network. I'm not sure if what my network problems are. David, how are you doing this? I saw a short where you said you have a job and this is a side. I can barely handle my job. OBS don't like your 1 gigabit per second fiber. I know, and I have even better than 1 gig. I have 3 gigabytes per second fiber, which is crazy, you know? Crazy. So David, about your question about how I do this, let me pin that real quick. How I do this with a job is basically I started creating like programming and tech content on I've been creating content on this channel for a long time, but I started creating tech and programming content on this channel at the beginning of the year. And originally my stream schedule was like I would do an hour during work where I was basically just kind of answering questions and chatting with people. And then I would do an hour during my lunch break. And that worked okay. But I wanted to have longer uninterrupted periods of time to stream, obviously, just with the way programming is. And the way my schedule works out, the only time to really do that is in the early mornings, right? So I get up at like 4 o'clock, hit the chair by 4:15, then stream till about 7 when my kids wake up, and then get ready for work, do work. Then after I get off work, that's family time, and then after the kids go to bed, that's time for me and my wife to hang out. So really, that was the only time to make it work. And so I guess how do I do it? I just kind of made the decision that I wanted to do it, and then I allocated the time the best I could. It's more of like, especially because I enjoy it too, right? Like it's not a chore. I enjoy learning stuff. I enjoy writing code. So it doesn't feel like extra work, right? It feels like a fun hobby. So that's the way I get it done. Never test OBS stream, let it evolve naturally. I hope OBS does not take that approach to their software development. Arrow, you rich. 3 gigabytes per second. I only get 50 megabytes per second. What the NASA internet speed? Well, we had one. I think it's because we live in a bigger city. So I live near Kansas City, which is a bigger city here in the US. And for the longest time, we didn't have fiber. When we lived in my hometown, we never had fiber. And then we moved up here and we had AT&T fiber. And then we just recently moved to a new place that is serviced by Google. And Google just laid out 3 gig fiber. And I think now you can go up to 8 gig, I think, at your house. I think it's like $150 for 8 gig. But most of my devices can't handle more than a gigabyte, right? So, the bandwidth is nice, but like the speed, I don't really get the benefit of the speed, you know? Varun Ready. I saw your LinkedIn and you have mentioned it as automation engineer, but all your videos are .NET development. Please, can you elaborate on this? Thanks. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So my day job, if you guys are interested, let me replace that pin message. So my day job, if you guys ever want to, I'm a pretty open book when it comes to my career and whatnot, but my day job is as a quality engineer. So I do a lot of manual and automated testing for a web app. And in my free time, I like to make content like this. But in my day job, I primarily work in TypeScript. I don't primarily work in C Sharp at work. We are a .NET shop where I work, so like our application is built in .NET, right? So that having knowledge of it helps me with that aspect of it. And I have recently started to get involved in like expanding testing into the .NET side of things, into the code base. Um, but I just enjoy making content around .NET and C Sharp. I really like the .NET ecosystem. I really like the .NET team. I love the C Sharp language, so I make content around that. I haven't really made much content around the automation stuff or the testing side of what I do for work, just because I do it all day already. So it's not as fun to make content about the stuff you've already spent 40 hours of your week doing. Now, if people would be ever be interested in having some content around that, I'd be happy to make some. It's just, you know, the stuff that I'm interested in exploring outside of the work hours are other things besides test automation, if that makes sense. Sean Lim, hey, I'm new to coding. Let me see, I'm pin this. Hey, I'm new to coding. Love your content, by the way. Just wondering, how do you even start working on a project when there's so much going on in a framework? How do I even start working on a project when there's so much going on in a framework? Well, I think to be a good developer, a good engineer, you have to get good at breaking down big problems into small problems and solving a lot of those little problems to eventually solve a big problem. So, I think for me to get started on a project is I just try to pick something, a slice of functionality, a feature, a bug, whatever it is, and I just try to start there and not try to let the totality of the thing overwhelm me too much. That's kind of my approach. Because if you focus too much on the big problem, you do get kind of overwhelmed, you know. Gun, go, go, go. Yeah, I need to focus again, don't I? Let's see. Bro can install GTA 5 in 30 seconds. Yeah. Gigabyte, gigabit. Yeah. Sorry, gigabit. Language is important. David, if you have 8 gigs in my country, the government will investigate you. This guy has eight gig internet. He can't be doing anything good with it. More gigs, mostly a bragging thing. If you can't use the full bandwidth or have a need for it, wasteful. Even consoles are limited by their LAN card. Yeah, I don't think any of the devices in the house can actually use the full speed of it, but I think it does help from a bandwidth perspective when you have, like, in our house we have 2 PlayStations, we have three Xboxes, I have 3 or 4 hardline computers, so I do think it helps a little bit from the bandwidth perspective. Um, in terms of just like congestion, but you're 100% right. Like most devices I have cannot utilize that full speed. You know it's progress when you get a new error. Well, a new error is progress. Why do you not play Steal a Brain Rot in your streams? I don't know. I don't know why I don't. It's not like I made an active choice not to. It's just we just don't. What games do your kids play? So my kids are super into Fortnite, Minecraft. Not Minecraft as much anymore, but a little bit of Minecraft. A lot of the like NBA, 2K26, 2K25, Madden, all that stuff. Uh, One of my sons just started playing Arc Raiders. One of them really likes Call of Duty, right? So they're a little bit of everything. They don't. We don't. The only game that we've really taken a strong stance on not playing is obviously like super like R-rated, adult content type of stuff. Like GTA's out, like we wouldn't let them play that. And we also don't let them play Roblox because neither my wife and I understand Roblox, so we just kind of were like, nah, we're not open that Pandora's box. See you, Gun. Have a good day, man. Thanks for answering my previous question. Why not apply as a .NET developer? You look a senior .NET dev already. I don't know if I'm a senior .NET dev. I feel like I'm a pretty capable .NET developer. I feel like I can hold conversations with all of our developers at work, and I feel like I can make my way around our code base at work fairly adequately. Um, I guess I like the company I work for. I like my boss at work. I like the work I'm doing there. I just don't feel compelled, right, to like look for another job. If my job wanted me to do more work on like the development side, on the .NET side, I'd be happy to do it, you know. Um, but I just I don't feel a need per se, right? If I lost my job or something, that's probably the type of work I would try to go get. I would try to go get either a job as a TypeScript dev or a .NET dev or something again in test automation. But yeah, I'm lucky. I'm in a good spot. I get to work from home. My company treats me well. It's good benefits, decent pay. You know, I and then in addition to all that, I still get my cake. I get to eat my cake and I get to have my cake and eat it too because in my free time I get to talk about .NET and make content and talk to you all about these things, right? So it's like it's kind of the best of both worlds where I really enjoy my job. I'm good at it. It provides the life that my family needs, and then in addition to that, I get to do all the fun things. So it's a win-win. Maybe one day though, Vern. Maybe one day. Does help so you can give each device a set bandwidth limit. Yeah, that's probably would be a good thing to do, which I have not done 6.7, but I should probably do that. Good night, Arrow. See you, man. Artwork Studios. Roblox is perfectly safe. The only issue is cooperate decisions sometimes suck and some get. Yeah, my wife and I have both played it, and we just kind of are like, what's the point of this? We can't really figure it out. Maybe that's just because we're old now. We're both in our 30s, but we're both gamers. Like me and my wife both game, right? So we just kind of taking the stance like, nah, we're good on Roblox. I'm gonna pin that 6.7. It depends though, because some games absolutely rule. Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling I get from Roblox is a lot of the feeling I get from like Fortnite mods, and my kids play a lot of Fortnite mods, so maybe it's an arbitrary decision we made. But I think as a parent, sometimes you just kind of have to follow your gut, even if you don't maybe have the best intellectual argument for why you made a decision or not. Sometimes you just kind of go with your gut, and for whatever reason we both have tried playing Roblox and both of us have just kind of been like, nah, you know. And that might change again. Like it might change. Our kids are young. Like there's a lot of video gaming left, a lot of growing up to do. They are lucky though, because growing up, I always wanted a PC, and it was relatively recent that I got my own PC. Well, they don't play on PCs. They play on PlayStations and Xboxes. We're primarily a household that games on consoles. My wife plays a little bit on the computer. Like she played Baldur's Gate on the computer, Baldur's Gate 3 recently. I think that was the last game she played on there. But yeah, they are lucky. My kids are spoiled. As a family, we enjoy playing video games, so we've invested money into making sure we can all play together. So they are spoiled. Me and my brother always shared Phil Thy Potato, nice username. Me and my brother always shared consoles and stuff growing up, but oh, there's my wife. My wife is actually in the chat. Oh, that Diablo, yeah, that was the last. So she's the one that who really plays on the PC. The rest of us pretty much just play on consoles. Block dot. Hey, let me pin your message really quick. Hey, honey. Also, good morning, honey. I'll be done here in a little bit. I'll probably come up in like 30 minutes or so. I was gonna do another lesson of this thing that I'm learning, but I've been sidetracked, so that may not happen. But I'll be up there in a bit. Let's see. Replace this pin message with block dot. Hey, do you think it's worth it to learn Vim and use it in WebStorm? Also, how long does it take to get pretty good? Hey, Black Dot. So good to see you. I'm gonna answer this question just by showing you my Visual Studio Code setup. I don't have WebStorm set up for Vim, but I do have Visual Studio Code, which is I feel like WebStorm and Visual Studio Code are kind of pretty good approximates, and as you can see, like, or maybe you can't see, but as you can see, I have Vim set up in Visual Studio Code. So in my opinion, I think it would be well worth it. I now have taken the stance that no matter what editor I use, whether it's NeoVim or not, I will always use Vim Motions. It's such a fun way to edit. It's such a fun way to edit text. I know that sounds silly, but it's such a fun way to edit text. And if you have people that will help level you up like I do, like Butterscotch does in the chat, who can help you learn how to use the Vim motions more efficiently, you can edit faster. Like, you do notice a difference in your ability to edit. So in most cases, getting the Vim motion set up in the editor takes a little bit of upfront effort, but it's well worth that time. As far as how long does it take to get good, I felt like I was tripping over my fingers for the first 3 weeks. A lot. And then after those 3 weeks, it's gotten better and better and better every month since. So I've really only been using Vim Motions for 11 months or so, 10 months or so. So take that for what it's worth. I'm not the best at it, but I'm competent enough now to develop with them. So I would encourage you to take the plunge. You know, and just go cold turkey. Like, turn it on and you're in it, you know? And maybe your productivity takes a little bit of a hit, but I think you'll be happy you did it. There's also, I used a game at the beginning called, what's that? I think it's called Vim Adventures. Is the game. I played this a little bit at the beginning to kind of get the basics down, which was fun to do. So maybe check out that too as well if you want a little bit of extra practice outside the context of just, you know, your editor. Kind of a gamification way. I'll tag you here, Black Dot, if you're still here. Yeah, we do get a lot of family time in via games. We haven't much recently in the last couple of months just because everybody's been playing such different games, but I'm hoping maybe Arc Raiders will be the game that brings us all back together a little bit more. Black Dot, sure, thanks, man. I'm kind of motivated to learn it. Yeah, give it a go. Do it. Do it. That's been the #1 takeaway from doing from doing NeoVim. From using NeoVim. Vim Motions is the best thing about taking the side quest into NeoVim has been Vim Motions. Forced to use NeoVim because VS Code was crashing my machine years ago. Man, Vim Motions seem annoying, but when you do get it nailed, I'm not even talking about the crazy macro stuff, you get fast. Yes, and I can't do any of the crazy macro stuff. I don't do any of the crazy macro stuff. But just the ability to navigate with your fingers on the keyboard, it feels really nice. Not having to do this, you know, half a dozen times, you know, that's huge, right? Mouse, keyboard, like, it feels really natural. Hey, Whirling, sorry I missed I saw you jump in here and I forgot to say hello. Good to see you. And yes, I am going based off I have a Whirling in my Discord. I'm guessing you're the same person. Let's see. Pin this guy up here. Is it possible to jump straight into a project with just the basics and learn as I go, or should I stick to tutorials first? So I would encourage you, Sean Lim, I would encourage you to start with the basics. Follow a tutorial that gets you the basics, and then from there start projects. I actually posted this on X, or I guess I quote posted somebody else's tweet on X the other day. He said, he was basically saying that, like, just-in-time development is how he likes to learn, and I totally agree. Like, most of your learning should be just in time, right? Like, it should be like, I need to solve this problem, and I need to know XYZ concept to do it. I'm gonna go learn that. you definitely want to understand like the basics. Like you want to spend a little bit of time on the primitives, but at some point you got to get away from the tutorials and you got to start getting out in the wild, right? And start solving problems for yourself. So I would encourage you, kind of like what I'm doing with Go. I'm following a couple tutorials, right? It's taken me a little while because I'm also like doing them on stream, but do a couple, you know, get your feet wet, understand the syntax, you know, understand the basics of the technologies you're working with, and then go right into some projects. I came here so I can like the stream again. Man, now that is that is a hardcore sub right there. You switched to your alt so you could give me a couple more likes. I appreciate that. All right, let's see if we can make a little bit of progress on Go. Golang. This is a challenge? What? Oh, this is from Twitter. Golang challenge. Write a function in which takes a struct and calls function for all strings fields found inside, difficulty level, recursively. To do this, we will need to use reflection. Reflection in computing is the ability of a program to examine its own structure, particularly through types. It's a form of metaprogramming. It's also a great source of confusion. I love that. It's like, this is very powerful and very useful, but it also will fuck you up. That's hilarious. Boris, have done any metaprogramming? No, I don't think I've done anything officially that you would call metaprogramming, or at least based on what I know about how metaprogramming works in like Ruby. I've seen some demos of people doing stuff with metaprogramming in Ruby. I've never done anything like that. I've definitely used reflection APIs in C#, but that's kind of, I think, probably as close as I've maybe have gotten to that concept. Oh my gosh, I just wrote metaprogram. Yeah, isn't that funny? The universe. Melty, what's your thoughts on Go so far? I like it, man. I think it's very simple. They try to give you like a one way to do things, right? They don't try to overcomplicate with 100 different ways to skin the cat, which I like. The standard library seems very robust. They thought about testing up front. They thought about benchmarking up front. The syntax seems familiar, right? It's almost like, to me, Go feels like kind of like C# and TypeScript, sort of from a syntax perspective, like sort of melted together a little bit, right? Having to think about things in terms of pointers has been different. That's not something that really you think about in TypeScript or C#. You more think about things in terms of like, this is a value or this is a reference, right? This is a value type or this is a reference type. In Go, it's almost like everything's a value type, but if you want to use something in a reference way, then you use a pointer, right? So like, which I think is good, because that means like Go is, in a lot of cases, is immutable by default, and you sort of have to opt into the mutability, which I think is a correct design decision, right? Like you should always, even if you're working in C#, I think if you're working in C#, you should try to program away from mutability and only use it when you absolutely need to, which C# has made easier to do with things like records and init only properties, stuff like that. I swear I had no idea that was about what was about to be said. So the brain waves must have been flowing over the internet. Oh, I see my stepdad taking the dog outside. Okay, so we're gonna try to do a little bit of this. We may not finish it, but we're gonna try to do a little bit. Melty, what have you made with it so far? We haven't made anything with it. So we've just been going through tour of Go, and then we've been doing learn Go with Tess. And then immediately after we get done with learn Go with Tess, we're gonna do some Advent of Code practice problems, or we're gonna basically do some old Advent of Code problems, and then we'll do some projects. And I don't, as far as like what projects, I have no idea. We're just gonna kind of vibe. We're gonna be a vibe coder in the sense that we're just gonna kind of make it up as we go. uh, all right, we have enjoyed the type safety that Go has offered us in terms of functions that work with known types, such as string, int, and our own types like bank account. This means that we can get some documentation for free, and the compiler will complain if you try and pass the wrong type to a function, which is, this sounds silly, but this is super valuable. Just compile time type checking of parameters and arguments. Types are free, man. You use them, they're free. You may come across scenarios, though, where you want to write a function where you don't know the type at compile time. Go lets us get around this with the type interface, which you can think of as just any type. So this is like the equivalent of any, right, in TypeScript. In fact, in Go, any is an alias for interface. Okay. So walk takes an any, right? Takes any type is what I'm just going to read this now as any instead of interface. And then it takes a function, and that function signature needs to have a string as a parameter, and then no return. So why not use interface or any for everything and have really flexible functions? This is JavaScript. They just invented JavaScript. Or, I guess, any dynamic language. Oh, I thought you had already been working on the Adventist. Oh, no, I'm preparing, or I'm planning for the plan, Milty. So, Advent of Code starts December 1st. And so I decided, well, because I've fallen down so much on practicing Go over the course of 2025, I decided, well, I'm going to dedicate the month of November to practicing Go so that when December 1st shows up, I'm halfway productive, you know? So as a user of a function that takes any, you lose type safety. What if you meant to pass herd.species of type string into a function, but instead did herd.count, which is an int? Yes, I don't think we need to drive home the importance of, we all probably agree. We can all see the value in types. As a writer of such a function, you have to be able to inspect anything that has been passed to you and try and figure out what the type is and what you can do with it. This is done using reflection. This can be quite clumsy and difficult to read, and is generally less performant. In short, this is actually interesting in the C# world, right? This is where like the source generator API becomes very interesting, because there's a lot of stuff that people are doing with reflection nowadays that you can probably use source generators with and get the benefits of compiled code, right? But the flexibility that you would get from using reflection. In short, only use reflection if you really need to. If you want polymorphic functions, consider if you could design it around an interface so that users can use your function with multiple types if they implement whatever methods you need for your function to work. Our function will need to be able to work with lots of different things. As always, we'll take an iterative approach, writing tests for each new thing we want to support and refactoring along the way until we're done. Okay, I need to do a time check really quick because I think my folks are leaving at 10 and I don't want to be stuck in the basement for 2 hours. Okay, well, we're going to start this. I'm going to say we're going to go to 8 o'clock my time, and then I'm going to hop. Sound good? We'll see how much we get through. We made a lot of progress today, though. We got through we finished mocking, got through concurrency, select. If we got through reflection, this would be awesome. So let's try to dig in here. What the heck? Why can't I get back to my topic? There we go. Hey, what's up, Suhas? Good to hear from you, man. Artwork Studios. Good to see you back in your official account. Okay, write the first test. So let's write our test. Or actually, let's set up our package, then write our test. What are we talking about here? Reflection. Let's see. Package test.go. And we are going to. Whoops. Oh my god, what have I done? This is what I get for trying to tab around this article. This is actually a lot of code. There's no way I'm getting through this before 8 o'clock, but we're gonna try. Where's the first test? Holy crap. Sorry guys, I don't mean to make you sick with all the scrolling. There we go. Copy that. We're gonna paste that in there. Why is this complaining? Because we haven't run go mod cd reflecting. There. Go mod init example.com LO official account, yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with having an alt, you know? A lot of people do that in video games, you know? Especially like games like Overwatch, where you kind of like, you can like rank yourself out of playing with other people. Alright, so what are we doing here? So we basically want a function that can take in anything, and then it's going to grab any field that is of string type, and it's going to, I think, append that, right? Which takes a struct, calls a function for all strings found inside. Yeah, so it's just gonna arbitrarily call a function, and in this case, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, here's a function that you're going to call for every field in the struct that is of type string. And it just so happens our function is appending the string that it found to a list of strings. So we want to store a slice of strings which stores which strings were passed into the function by walk. Finally call walk with x in the spy, and for now just check the length of got. We'll be more specific with our assertions once we've got something very basic. So this is going to fail, obviously, because we haven't done anything to actually make it work. Oh my gosh, I don't know if my game is broken or if it's my brain that's breaking. Could be either, man, when it comes to programming. Could be either. Write the minimal amount. Yep, we'll take that, we'll copy it. Why is this complaining though? No packages found for open file. Package.go. And now if we rerun our test, I wish, does Go have like a watch command? Does anybody know? Like, can you just have the test sit and run? That would be nice. .NET has this. Does Go have it? Go watch test. I guess not. I guess you have to something different. I mean, I guess you could just sit there and run it in a loop, right? Oh, here's a proposal for it. Currently, oh, someone just gave him a shell script. That's hilarious. Yeah, so they just want you to use the existing tool set. That's funny. I love it when you see people ask for features like in tools and stuff, and then somebody just drops, well, just use a shell script, man. Good mythical morning, ladies and gentlemen. How goes it? What's up, Shudo? How are you? Thanks for stopping in, man. We're currently learning about reflection. in Go at the moment. That's the current thing. We got about 25-ish minutes of the stream left, so we're trying to make it count. Write enough code to make it pass. We can call the spy with any string to make this pass. So if we copy, and we say, don't do that, don't do that. So now we're basically saying, hey, whatever function you give me, I'm just going to always call it with this string, which will make my test pass because I'm just making sure there's one string in there in my test. I'm just checking the length, and there's only one name. There's only one string field in my struct, so this will work. But it's not actually going to work if we want to check for that specific string, which he's going to kind of show us. Also, I hope you guys don't find the way I'm doing this, like, learning on stream very pedantic, because I'm not assuming that you guys are, like, dumb or don't know. I'm just trying to, like, learn out loud, right? So let me know if you find it annoying. I'll stop doing it. But I'm trying to, like, learn and explain and talk and add my commentary all at the same time. Add the following to the existing test to check the string pass to function is correct. Okay. I enjoy the added info. I don't know any Go. Okay, good. Well, if anybody else feels differently, just let me know. I don't know Go either, right? But I know, like, I'm learning it actively, and like I know a little bit about C#, so I'm just trying to, like, share what I know about programming in general and the things I have from my past that relate to what I'm learning about Go. But I know sometimes that can come across like I'm trying to explain to you guys things, or like trying to teach you guys things, and it's not really my aim. I'm not trying to, like, necessarily teach you guys. I'm just trying to kind of bring you along on my journey a little bit. So we got this string, but we want Chris. Well, we really done screwed up this one. Write enough code to make it pass. So it looks like we have a reflect API, and we say, get me the value of X. So whatever X is. Then we have another method off here that we can say, give me, I'm assuming we're saying, give me the first field of this value. And then the string method is a way to, like, cast it, I guess, or convert it to a string. I don't really know. I don't know anything about the reflection API. I'm just trying to infer by the usage there. So let's see what happens. Woohoo! Look at us. We're using reflection in Go. I did not know Go had reflection, so this is a really cool little quest I'm on right now. This code is very unsafe and very naive, but remember, our goal when we are in red is to write the smallest amount of code possible. We will then write more tests to address our concerns. We need to use reflection to have a look at X and try to look at its properties. The reflect package has a function value of, which returns us a value. Yeah. We then make some very optimistic assumptions about the value passed in. We look at the first and only field. However, there may be no fields at all. This would cause a panic. We then call string, which returns the underlying value as a string. However, this would be wrong if the field was something other than a string. Our code is passing for the simple case, but we know our code has a lot of shortcomings. We're going to be writing a number of tests where we pass in different values and checking the array of strings that function was called with. We should refactor our test into a table-based test to make this easier to continue testing new scenarios. So when you see table-based tests, you just need to think data-driven test, right? So that's what he's doing here. He's basically creating an anonymous struct with things that define each test case. So he's given each test case a name, an input, and then whatever the expected outputs are from that particular test case. That way you can just basically write one test and then have it dynamically generate each test based on the given test case. If you're familiar with C# and .NET, this would be like theory data in XUnit. It's the same idea. So let's copy this code, which I love data-driven tests. I mean, you can't always write data-driven tests, but if you can, why not? It's a lot of bang for your buck, you know? I'm gonna format this just a little bit differently to make it a little bit more readable. Also, I feel like that was a little small. So we have our cases. Yep, wonderful. Now we can easily add a scenario to see what happens if we have more than one field. Add the following scenario to the cases. Easy peasy. And let's try to run our test. I'm guessing it's going to blow up now. I'm starting to get irritated. I'm trying to use CMake to get open Collada ready for compiling, but CMake isn't finding VS22 compiler. Yeah, that does sound frustrating. It sounds very esoteric and very frustrating. which kind of describes the whole programming journey, right? Solving very esoteric problems when you originally intended to solve a different problem, then getting frustrated. Programming. Let's see. Struck with 2 string fields. Got Chris, but want Chris in London. Well, there we go. Write enough code to make it pass. So val, and then we'll just say val over num of field. Oh, okay. So this is where, this is a really good example to me of how important IntelliSense is, right? Because if you had to go and read the docs for this reflect API or any of the values or the return types of this reflect API, you'd be doing a lot of reading and a lot of Googling. But with IntelliSense, you have this like dot exploration in your code, right? So I'm guessing if I was to go into my code and I was to go back to our implementation here, right? And I'm guessing if I do, let's say I do val dot, right? Like this is why IntelliSense is so powerful, is because you can do this dot exploration where you don't really necessarily need to go out to documentation to figure everything out, right? You can actually go through here and say, is there something on here that gives me the number of fields? Yeah, that's just what I need, right? And it looks like there's one that gives me the number of methods, which is really cool, right? It's like, this is why I can't imagine people that programmed before LSPs or IntelliSense were a thing. Must have been a painfully slow inner dev loop. Painfully slow. I'm sure they came up with ways to make it faster, but I think personally that's one of the things that has always had me hooked on programming, is how fast the feedback loop is. One step forward, 2 steps back with coding as norm. Yeah. Word. All the tests pass. And so now, I imagine now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep adding test cases. So get ready for a lot of iterative implementation. So we're going to go back here. Let's delete these buffers. And then let's go back to our test case. We'll add another one. This is gonna blow up now. See, we don't want that. So now what we need to do is we need to have some sort of check. Let's see if we can do this one without looking at his first. So I bet field has some sort of type on it. What do you want to bet? Copilot, shh, Copilot, don't steal my learning. Field, or let's say like type. Oh, we'll say T. Field dot, if I could spell, field dot type. Yeah. And then what is this? This is, what does this return? A reflect dot type. Okay. So how do I check if T equals reflect dot type dot string? Maybe is how we do it. Then we call this on here. Okay, that's not right. This returns a string. Okay, so how do I say, you know, type string? How do I do that? Reflect.string. So what if I do kind? I don't know if I should be using type or string. I honestly don't know. Let's just see if this makes my test pass, and then we'll go look at what he did. Yeah, that worked. So let's see what he did in his implementation. Oh, yep, that's what he did. So he did if field.kind equals reflect.string, then we'll add it. Booyah, we did it. Shudo, what project are you working on that uses... Oh, you're talking to somebody else. Amy, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in and saying hello. Ooh, nested fields. That's nasty. That's not pretty to read. This is where we're going to have to, I think, get into some recursiveness, aren't we? Yep. We can see that when you get inner anonymous structs, the syntax gets a little messy. There's a proposal to make it so the syntax would be nicer. Yeah, that's definitely messy code. Or messy syntax. Like this, I mean, I bet he could format this differently so it wouldn't look so like gobbledygook. But it's just the nature of the curly braces and things being on new lines and other things not being on new lines. Let's refactor this by making a known type for this scenario and reference it in the test. There's a little indirection in that some of the code for our test is outside the test, but readers should be able to infer the structure of the struct by looking at the initialization. Add the following type declaration somewhere in your test file. Okay. Then add this to our cases, which reads a lot clearer than before. Yeah, it does read a lot clearer. Should still be failing, but it's a little easier to read. Yep. Write enough code to make it pass. So what are we going to do here? We're going to recursively call this. If field.kind equals a struct, then we're going to call walk, and we're going to pass in this interface, the value from the interface return. the return value from the interface method. It would help if I could talk. The solution is quite simple. Again, inspect its kind, and if it happens to be a struct, we can just call walk again on that inner struct. I'm not a big fan of recursion, though. I will do this, but I would much rather solve this with a non-recursive solution. But for the sake of time, we'll just take his, because it would probably take me too long to. I absolutely hate the way Go formats the switch case. I absolutely hate it. Like this should be indented. So if anybody knows how I can configure that, like in a Go format way, let me know, because this is I don't like. Go test. And it passes again. Man, we're just making all kinds of progress. Okay, you're doing a comparison on the same value more than once. Generally, refactoring into a switch will improve readability. What if the value of the struct passed in is a pointer? Ah. Well, then we're going to have to dereference it, aren't we? Look at me over here using dereferencing. Talking about pointers. Jeez, look at this guy. Trying to be a Go dev. So if val.kind equals reflect.pointer, the value needs to be reassigned to val.element or elm. Let's see, you can't use num field on a pointer value. We need to extract the underlying value before we can do that by using the elm method. Let's encapsulate the responsibility of extracting the reflect.value from a given interface into a function. Okay, yeah, I like that better. I don't like doing this. I really don't care for doing this, really. Like the reassignment of variables. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's very confusing. I think sometimes this introduces bugs when you do value reassignment like that. Like I would almost do it like this if it was me. I think it accomplishes the same thing, but I think it's a little clearer to read myself than doing than reassigning variables. So if we come down here, I know I'm being a critic of the teacher's work, but I think if it was me, what I would do is I would probably do, okay, if the value kind is a pointer, I'm just going to return val.element. Otherwise, the base case is going to be reflect.value of x. I think that's how I would write that method. Oh, but you need the kind. So my idea doesn't work. Maybe here instead of reassigning, I would just return this. I don't know if that makes a world of difference. I just find like my eye traps on the return keyword more than it does. When I'm reading a function top to bottom, I feel like my eye looks for returns, right? It's like what gets returned when this is true? This, right? I don't know. Semantics, readability. It's all opinion. I'm glad you're having a good time over there, Artwork Studios. I'm over here learning and you're making progress on your game. It sounds like you're having probably more fun. This actually adds more code, but I feel the abstraction level is right. This is where software engineering becomes far less of a science and more of an art, right? There is some touchy-feeliness to code. Get the reflect.value of x so I can expect it. I don't care how. Iterate over the fields, doing whatever needs to be done depending on its type. Next, we need to cover slices. Ah, yes. I've got about 5 more minutes, so we'll see if we can get through. We should be able to get through the majority of the remaining test cases, I think. It's connected. Although I think it just failed in a really bad way, and OBS just reconnected. Call of reflect.value.num field on slice value. Yeah, so that really blew up on us. Whoa. That's nasty. If val.kind equals reflect.slice, then for each I guess for the length of that current slice, we are going to get the value at that index. We're going to get the underlying thing, and then we're going to call that with walk. So again, another recursive call, and then we'll return early. He had the same reaction I did. This works, but it's yucky. No worries. We have working code backed by tests, so we are free to tinker all we like. If you think a little abstractly, we want to call walk on either each field in a struct or each thing in a slice. Our code at the moment does this, but doesn't reflect it very well. We just have a check at the start to see if it's a slice, and if it's not, we just assume it's a struct. Let's rework the code so instead we check the type first, then do our work. Yeah, this looks better. Yeah, I think that looks better. Raging Core, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate it. Do you like solving leak code problems ever? I don't care for leak code. I did do code wars for a little bit. That was pretty fun because you kind of like, you know, it's a little bit, it has like a theme to it, you know, it makes it kind of a little bit more fun. But the closest thing I get to leak code every year is advent of code. If I'm going to spend time programming, I'd much rather spend time programming to learn some new technology or explore some new concept, or to build a project, build an application, build something that actually solves a real problem I have. I would much rather spend my time doing that than doing leak code. Granted, I'm not I'm not trying to get a job at Meta. I'm not sure, you know what I mean? Like, I understand there's a time and place where people grind leak code for very particular reasons. I just don't fall into any of those buckets. So I don't typically do that kind of stuff. Yeah, fair. I feel pretty strongly the same way. Yeah, I don't judge anyone who does. If you want to grind leak code, that's totally cool. Like, and if you find it fun, like maybe you're not even grinding it for a job. You just enjoy that type of stuff. You know, no skin off my back. It's just not how I prefer to. There's only so many hours in the day that I can spend programming, so I have to pick and choose, right, the things I want to do. That's life, man. Life is just a bunch of decisions. A bunch of decisions about how to spend your time. That's ultimately what life boils down to. Let's see. I think this is the last test I'm going to be able to iterate on. I'm building up my leak code profile, so it'll be prepared in about a year, but it's pretty boring compared to working on real projects, I must admit. Yeah, I honestly don't know how much people use leak code profiles when they're evaluating people. Maybe I just don't interview for the type of jobs where that would be important. But yeah, I mean, could be a very strategic move to have a really good leak code profile, 100%. And yes, I will agree though, it's boring compared to projects. Advent of code to me isn't boring because Advent of code has a community around it, right? So you're doing something with a group of people, and it's following a story. So there's like a storyline to follow. So it's sort of like entertainment, and it just makes the holidays fun for us nerdy people. For us nerdy people who would rather spend time solving, esoteric algorithm data structure problems instead of hanging out with our loved ones. If it, let's see, looking much better. If it's a struct or slice, we iterate over its values, calling walk on each one. Otherwise, if it's a reflect doc string, we call function. Still, to me, it feels like it could be better. There's repetition of the operation of iterating over field values and then calling walk, but conceptually they're the same. Yes, conceptually they are the same. Yes, conceptually they are the same. Here we're just saying val field, right, interface, and here we're actually getting an index. We're indexing into the value to get the interface. So what did he do to refactor out of this? So he says, get the value, initialize a number of values. Then he has a get field func, which is just the reflect dot value. No, it is of type. It is a function. Get field is a function that takes an int and returns a reflect dot value. Then what he's doing is he's saying if it's a string, we call the function that the user passed in. Otherwise, for the struct and the get field, yeah, he basically abstracted out the I and he abstracted out the get field function, right? So he abstracted out. That's what he did. He basically said, we're going to abstract this and we're going to abstract this, and we're going to make those variables and we're going to assign to them, and then we're only going to have the loop defined once, and we're just going to use those assignments as variables in the loop. I don't know how I feel about that. Again, like I'm just not a big fan of the whole variable reassignment, right? Because when my eye reads through this, it's almost like my eye just like wants to skip over these two lines and these two lines. But it does remove redundant code. I'll copy these guys. We'll stick that in here. Let's see. Run our test again. Advent seems fun because you're learning a new language, likely some useful DSA also. LeetCode seems largely just rinse and repeat similar problems once you already know the language in DSA. Yeah, well, Advent, but if you peel the layers back on Advent of code problems, they're all data structures and algorithms. Breadth first search, step first search, A star, like, and it's really just about pattern recognition of like when you're reading the story, can you understand which algorithm problem you're solving, right? Um, which is why it's also kind of fun to learn DSA, because you actually kind of stumble over those algorithms as you're trying to figure out what's the most efficient way to solve this leak code problem, because LeetCode gives you Advent of code gives you problems that you will not be able to solve, at least within a day, unless you implement them in a particular way, right? You have to implement your solution in a particular way. You can't just brute force everything. I mean, you can, but it will take you too long to be able to solve things in the time that you would want to try to solve them, right? Now we've done this, handling arrays should be trivial. Yes, it should be. So let's add this test. It's 8 o'clock, isn't it? It's after 8. Shit. Okay. We'll do the arrays and then I gotta go. I'm guessing all my family is awake and they're downstairs and I'm in the basement just ignoring them, which I don't want to do. I don't want to be known as the weird nerd that ignores people in the basement. Reflect.array. We'll just add that as a kind in our switch statement. That. Go test. Wonderful. Look at us. Man, we made a lot of progress today. So I'm really happy with that. And how much more do we have? Oh crap, I lost my spot. I don't like that it... We need to handle maps. What else? We need to handle something else. So there's like 3 more things we need to do in this lesson before we're done. But that will have to wait for another day, won't it? Unfortunately. Honestly, I have to look into admin code more closely. I've been so tunnel vision on my projects recently. Yeah, you should check it out. I mean, you don't have to participate, but it's a fun event. Nathan, consider also running a second regular with stream. So Nathan, you're not the first person who's mentioned this. I've actually had several people ask, like, why don't you stream horizontally? So the honest answer is I don't stream horizontally because the vertical streams get much more discoverability and interaction because they show up in the shorts feed. I've tried to do a dual stream using OBS where you create a stream, you create 2 streams on YouTube, and then there's this vertical plugin that you can use on OBS to basically have 2 outputs, 2 different canvases outputted to 2 different streams. I tried that. There's 2 problems with that. One, it crushes my network. My network just can't support it. 2, the chats are separate, so that's kind of annoying. And then, yeah, those are the 2 things. So I bailed on that. So I basically gave up on that. The killing the bandwidth was kind of like a showstopper for that approach. But YouTube did announce that they're gonna hopefully allow creators to start doing what TikTok does, where TikTok allows you to stream dual formats and they take care of handling that for you, and it's all unified. So there's only one chat, there's only one stream, and then depending on what the user wants to do with their device, it switches between vertical and horizontal. They announced that in September, and supposedly they're like slowly rolling it out in beta. So if I ever get that functionality, I will definitely offer a horizontal stream. But for now, I'm going to stick with vertical because it gets me the most discoverability, gets me the most engagement, and it kind of sets me apart from the other people who are doing coding content at the moment. So yeah, I appreciate that, Nathan. It's good to know there's another person who would be interested in that. So I'll keep an eye on it. Like I said, they announced it in September, I think was when they announced it. Dual format. Yeah, September 16th is when they announced it. So I have yet to see it roll out to my YouTube studio. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, it'll show up. Okay, guys, I'm going to run upstairs, get another coffee, and see the family. Nathan, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for chatting. Always appreciate the feedback on the stream, guys. Housekeeping. If you want to interact with me or anyone in chat outside of the stream, the best place to find us is the Discord, which Stream Elements has been posting in the chat. But there's the link again. If you're curious about schedule, my stream schedule right now is basically I try to wake up at 4:15 Central Standard Time in the morning, 4:15 a.m. and then I try to start the stream at 4:15, stream till about 7. Some days, like today on weekends, I'll go a little bit later, but during the week it's usually till about 7 a.m. because then I got to go get ready for work and live my actual life, not my digital life. And so yeah, so that's the schedule if you're curious. So if you see me live, obviously you're more than welcome just to stop in and say hi and then bounce. You guys definitely not expected to sit here and watch me fool around with code for several hours, but I appreciate those of you who do. And with that, I think I'll leave you with you guys the customary sign off. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday, right? Sunday. Hope you're having a great Sunday. If it's already Saturday for you, have a great Saturday. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow morning. If I don't, no worries. I hope your week gets started off on the right foot. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Or maybe I'll see you in the comments of a short or a video or something. All right. Bye, Artwork Studios. You too, man. Have a great Sunday. See you, Shudo. Thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Nathan, see ya. Appreciate your feedback. Who else is in here? Shudo. Bye, man. Is that it? I think that's it recently. 199 if you're still here, bye. And then the rest of y'all, I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good day. All right, bye chat. Bye. See you guys.